The painful moans echoed, breaking the silence for a moment. Then a man in a white shirt staggered into view, one hand tightly clutching a wound, the other trembling as he struggled to stay upright. He stared intently at the young man in a blue shirt with platinum hair in the distance, shouting in rage, "You bastard, you did this on purpose, didn't you? Is this the son of the traitor we almost got killed by that beast?" Facing the man in white was Lam Pong, sprawled on the ground, surrounded by countless sharp shards of broken glass piercing his skin, the pain cutting to the bone. The pain made Lam Pong grit his teeth, but he still tried to weakly refute the accusations. I didn't... He hadn't finished when a blond man suddenly delivered a powerful kick to Lam Pong, causing him to tumble face down on the ground, barely managing to let out a painful cry. He was met with another brutal stomp from the attacker, his body crashing hard against the cold ground. Meanwhile, the other man coldly spoke, "You useless piece of trash, you can't even find your way forward." The one with the ruthless foot was Chu Haovu. "I'm putting all my weight down on you, Lam Pong." He leaned down threateningly, his voice low. "You're going to die, right?" Behind them, the man in white stood with his arms crossed, a smirk on his face. "This fool doesn't even realize this trial has a deadly quota. A child of a traitor dying, no one will care." Suddenly, a loud shout cut through the tense atmosphere. "Stop!" The owner of that voice was to NHA, leading a group of female students, waving her hand to signal from behind, loudly intervening. "This crime cannot implicate family members." "Isn't Lin Fong also your classmate? How can you be so ruthless?" Hearing this, a girl standing behind Chu Haovu stepped forward, her face filled with anger. "Classmate, just the other day I saw him sneaking into the girls' bathroom to take pictures. He's just a filthy creep." Her accusation made to NHA on the opposite side break out in a cold sweat, while the group of female students behind her began to murmur. A girl with purple hair exclaimed in shock, "What?" "The peeping Tom is Lam Fong," another added maliciously. "His parents are traitors, what's so surprising?" Anger spread as another female student chimed in, "My underwear often goes missing, it must be him." The atmosphere grew increasingly tense as another girl added indignantly, "It's so perverted. That case of the girl who was abused to death before, maybe he was the culprit." Despite the blatant slander, Lam Fong clenched his fists and tilted his head back. His voice broke as he tried to clarify. "What peeping, what underwear, what abuse? I didn't do it. He shouted in frustration. "You shouldn't falsely accuse me." Ignoring Lam Fong's desperate explanations, Chu Haovu aggressively pointed at his face, loudly inciting the crowd. "He's definitely a filthy one. His parents are traitors. He himself is a pervert. People like him don't deserve to live. Look, everyone, let's beat him to death." As the command was given, the crowd behind him immediately tightened their fists, surrounding Lam Pong with murderous intent. Lam Fong widened his eyes, looking at those bloodthirsty people wanting his life. His ears were filled with the frenzied shouts of, "Beat this traitor to death." The angry voices rose in a chorus, "Beat him, beat him." The men all raised their fists, roaring like wild beasts, "Beat this traitor to death." The words "beat the traitor to death" sliced through Lam Fong's heart, igniting his rage. He screamed in despair to release his pent-up frustration. "I'm not a traitor." Memories flooded back, images of his lonely and helpless childhood flashed before his eyes as he continued to shout, "My parents aren't traitors." Little Lam Fong had chased after his parents. He was being escorted by armed soldiers, only able to call out in despair. His mother reached out, her eyes filled with pain as she looked at her son one last time. Lam Fong rushed forward, grabbing the pant leg of a soldier, crying and screaming, "Wow, my parents are heroes! Why do you want to arrest them?" The soldier coldly replied, "Lam Ngao Tien and Liu Nguyet are suspected of treason. They are currently under arrest. Please do not interfere with law enforcement." Hearing this, the child cried even louder, his voice breaking with injustice, "No, my parents. It must be a misunderstanding. Someone wants to harm them." The Chu Haovu group is still tightly surrounding Lam Pong. One of them leans down and shouts, "With so many witnesses, you still want to deny it." Chu Haovu joins in, ready to beat him down. The young man with green hair raises his fist, gritting his teeth, threatening, "If you admit you're a scum and a pervert, kneel and apologize to us. Who knows, we might be generous enough to let you go, freeing you from this painful memory." Lam Fong clutches his head tightly, his hands gripping his hair as he screams in defiance. "Dream on. You guys want to force me to confess." His eyes blaze with determination, refusing to back down. "I didn't do anything like that. I won't admit it, even if you beat me to death." Just as Lam Fong struggles against the oppression, a mechanical voice suddenly echoes in his mind. detected unjust treatment towards the host exceeding system regulations for time travel. The takeover has been activated. Lam Fong lies face down, covering his face as if trying to escape reality, but that voice still resonates as long as the host calmly accepts all baseless accusations and criticisms. The system will give the host a chance to change their fate. Hearing this, Lam Fong sits up abruptly, his face drenched in sweat, his eyes filled with extreme confusion. 1,000 questions arise in his mind. What kind of cursed system is this? Why should I admit to things I didn't do? You and your group are accomplices, right? As if understanding his thoughts, the system reassures him, please don't doubt the system's loyalty. The sole purpose of the system is to help the host become stronger. It continues with a philosophical question. If everyone thinks you're the bad guy, why fall into the trap of endless self-justification? That? Lam Fong slowly sits up, resting his hand on his forehead, his eyes shining with the light of realization. The trap of self-justification, he looks through his fingers, a mad smile creeping onto his lips. No mistake. There's no way out but to become stronger so I won't be bullied anymore. Lam Fong brushes back his hair, the smile on his face becoming even more eerie despite enduring the oppression. So what the decision is made. He opens his eyes, staring coldly at the Chu Hao Vu group, and speaks in a chilling tone. You all say I'm scum, I admit it. The Chu Hao Vu group stands frozen in shock. Stunned into silence, they don't care about his attitude. Lam Fong flips over, lying face down, raising his head in provocation. I admit my guilt, but with a spectacular turnaround. The secret of the sneak shot was due to Chu Hao Vu's orders. He even has copies of those photos. Not stopping there, he delivers a fatal blow, revealing a shocking secret. As for the lost underwear of those people, you better check his pillow. Just as he finishes, a green light bursts forth. It envelops Lam Fong, and in the blink of an eye, his figure vanishes into thin air, leaving the crowd in astonishment. Those who were once fierce now begin to feel bewildered. Their eyes turn towards Chu Hao Vu, filled with horror and suspicion. It seems Lam Fong's final accusation has struck hard at their minds. They no longer feel disgusted, and the group immediately disperses. Chu Hao Vu seems to be avoiding them, but his close followers, both male and female, surround their leader with curious, eager eyes. One man speaks up, Boss you? Another chimes in with a gleeful expression, Boss, share a bit with me. Surrounded by his scrutinizing companions, Chu Hao Vu sweats profusely, panicking. What are you planning to do with me? This is completely slander. While Chu Hao Vu struggles to deal with his followers, a fierce killing intent erupts from behind. To NHA leads a group of female students forward, fists clenched tightly. Her face darkens, eyes blazing with fury as she grits her teeth, growling at Chu Hao Vu. At the same time, the space warps, bringing Lam Fong to a desolate beach. He lies face down on the wet sand. Despite the cold waves crashing against him after a moment, Lam Fong slightly moves his mouth, letting out a groan. Ugh! He tries to suppress the pain, trembling as he pushes himself up. His eyes still blazing with determination, he looks ahead. Blocking his view is a gigantic beast, its body slithering like a cobra, but along its spine are sharp, spiky protrusions. Its entire body is covered in purple scales, flying around, destroying the bushes, making threatening growls. Upon seeing it, Lam Fong thinks to himself, I suspect this is... Before he can gather his thoughts, a floating notification board appears before him. The system of universal takeover has detected storm thunder power. Do you want to seize the thunder power? A mechanical voice from the system echoes in his mind, repeating the confirmation request. The system of universal takeover has detected storm thunder power. Do you want to seize the power? No thunder. Below the words were two choices, agree or refuse. Lam Fong, bewildered, mumbled in shock as the monstrous creature suddenly threw its head back and let out a wail. A blinding bolt of lightning struck down from above, splitting its body in half in an instant as he witnessed the horrifying scene. Lam Fong gritted his teeth, raising his hand to shield his eyes from the approaching whirlwind. A thought flashed in his mind. Could this powerful strike, infused with the might of thunder, mean the system was activated? Entering the game world, he plunged into this adventure without hesitation, pressing his finger on the agree button on the virtual panel, determined to harness the power of thunder. He could break through to the future. Just as that thought finished, a sharp pain shot through his hand as a surge of wild electricity began to spread throughout his body. The system immediately notified the host. Successfully seized, he received a super upgrade of thunder power, preparing to feel the new strength surging through his veins once again. Lam Fong clenched his fists and laughed heartily. Ha, here we go. It was the feeling of awakening power. As long as he had great strength, those who slandered him and tarnished his reputation meant nothing. The smile on his lips gradually returned. With a sinister glint in his eyes, he thought ruthlessly, since everyone considers me a villain, I'll show you just how bad I can be. Lam Fong knelt on one knee, sliding a long way across the sand, sending dust flying everywhere. He looked up at the sky, laughing maniacally. I declare war on you, Chu Hao Vu and Chu Van Bak. Just wait for me. In another corner of the forest, a loud slap echoed as a rough hand smacked the girl's backside. The girl quickly turned around to dodge, her face flushed with embarrassment and anger as she scolded, "You creep, how dare you take advantage of me?" The man in the white shirt leaned back, smirking. With a shameless expression, he replied, "What's wrong? You want to turn against me now? I've already given you half of my training points." Their flirtation was abruptly interrupted by a mocking laugh that startled both of them. They turned to see Lam Fong casually stepping out from the shadows. With his hands in his pockets, he sneered, "What a pathetic loser." Recognizing the newcomer, the man in white laughed loudly, pointing at Lam Fong with disdain. "Ha ha ha, I thought it was someone important, but it's just you, the useless one who barely escaped death. Thanks to me, so what do you want now?" The girl accompanying him also covered her mouth, giggling along with the man's mockery. Lam Fong simply smiled coldly at their attitude. He raised his hand and blue lightning began to dance on his fingertips. "What am I doing? Of course, as a scum, I'm up to no good." Seeing the terrifying electricity on Lam Fong's hand, the man in white turned pale, sweat pouring down him as he stammered incoherently. When did you awaken your powers?" The girl was equally panicked, shouting, "Lam Fong, calm down, we're classmates." Hearing the words classmates, Lam Fong burst into laughter as if he heard a joke. He played with the lightning ball in his hand, causing it to expand behind him, forming an imposing electric net. "Classmates, you think of me as some kind of loser? The worst scum irredeemable. Then I'll make sure to live up to the title you've given me. All your training points are mine now. Come out here." The girl trembled quickly, raising her hand to activate a weak blue light in hopes of negotiating. "Lam Fong, don't be impulsive." Realizing she was trying to pull a trick, Lam Fong did not hesitate. Without a second thought, he shot a bolt of lightning straight at her, causing her to scream in pain. "Ah!" The man in white, terrified, stumbled back and fell to the ground, his eyes wide with horror. The lightning continued to swirl around Lam Fong as he glared at the girl, his voice icy. "You still want to call for help? You really want to die?" Seeing the deathly figure approaching, the man in white backed away, pleading desperately. "No, don't come any closer. I'll give you anything." Lam Fong smirked wickedly, staring intently at his thunderous hand. "I don't need your stuff. In fact, I have plenty of great gifts prepared for you. Feel the power of thunder." Without warning, he hurled a lightning ball at the man, the electricity coursing through his body, causing him to convulse, violently clutching his head and screaming in despair, "Stop, it hurts, I don't want to." "Want or don't want, I was wrong, okay, I was wrong." Lam Fong maintained a cold smile as he firmly replied, "No, I am not that kind of person." "If you want to owe someone—" His voice suddenly turned sharp, echoing throughout the forest, as Lam Fong leaped high, arms wide open, commanding the lightning. A series of lightning bolts struck down like rain, hitting your enemies. "Be patient for a moment. My powers are incredibly strong." The man writhed in the sea of electricity. The sound of desperate screams echoed endlessly. I don't want to." On the other side of the forest, Chu Hao Vu's group was startled upon hearing it. A loud thunderclap rang out as a man in a brown coat shielded his forehead, squinting towards the source of the sound, commenting on the strength of the thunder. He caught a whiff of a burnt smell in the wind and turned his head suspiciously, asking, "Isn't that the scent of Chu?" At the crime scene, the man in white was charred to death, eyes wide open. Lam Fong calmly withdrew his powers, scanning the forest for a new target. "Who should I look for next?" He clenched his fist around the lightning orb once more, his voice low and filled with resentment. "I will not forgive anyone who has bullied me." At that moment, the system interface popped up with a notification. "Congratulations, host, you have obtained 500 villain points." A blue halo appeared on Lam Fong's wrist, displaying the number 38. He looked at it with curiosity. "What are villain points?" Thinking it over, he nodded to himself. "Perhaps it's the basic currency of the villain system. Let's see where to check it," he said. Lam Fong began to skillfully operate the virtual panel in front of him, intently reading through his personal information. He thought to himself, indeed, just awakened, I'm a low-level awakened person to Naha. And Chu Hao Vu awakened 2 years ago and was already a high-level awakener. His personal information panel displayed detailed information: host Lam Fong, skill lightning ability, awakening level low, experience none, villain points 500. The system continued to send notifications: no experience, abilities cannot be upgraded. Seeing this, Lam Fong muttered, so these points can't be used for upgrades. Do I have to spend them in the marketplace just then? The system interface changed. The marketplace is open. Please feel free to choose from countless items with varying values. Lam Fong scrolled through quickly and sighed. Every item has a high value, it's just too expensive. Let's refresh it one more time. He pressed the refresh button on the interface, looking at the newly refreshed items. Lam Fong helplessly rubbed his chin. Still can't afford anything. The system won't force me to work, will it? While he was pondering, another notification suddenly appeared. Congratulations, host. For spending 100 villain points, you have been rewarded with a 10-time spin. Continuously for newcomers, Lam Fong glanced at his hands, filled with question marks in his mind. Then he raised his hands excitedly, laughing. Good thing there's a reward for newcomers. I shouldn't hesitate. Let's start spinning 10 times right away. As his voice ended, the system interface displayed a warning and quickly began the spin. Attention, host. All items in the marketplace have a chance to be won. Congratulations, host. You have obtained a 10-time ability enhancement card for 10 seconds. Lam Fong placed his hands on his hips, watching the cards spinning on the board. Then he received another notification. Congratulations, host. You have obtained a 10-time ability enhancement card for 10 seconds. Lam Fong let out a loud laugh, even though he didn't draw the orange card. But the 10-time ability enhancement card is still pretty good. Shortly after, another notification appeared, causing his mood to drop. Host, your villain points are still missing 1,200. Please supplement them in time. Lam Fong rolled up his sleeves, grinning wickedly, thinking, I need 160 villain points. Only then can I spin once. It seems I have to find a few more unlucky people to harvest. Hopefully I can draw the time travel card to continue my plundering. It seems like we need to find a few more unlucky souls to harvest the crops if we hope to draw the time travel card and continue our looting. Time flies quickly. Night has fallen. At this moment, Duong Hoai and 2 other girls are sitting in a circle next to the corpse of a monster. Just defeated, Duong Hoai seems annoyed, wondering why it's so difficult this time. It was almost exhausting. She almost collapsed. She placed her hands on her hips and replied, It's fine. We've met the minimum points to pass. The short-haired girl with a slender figure crossed her arms, appearing proud. I heard that 2NHA is really determined to break the record. I really don't know if she can achieve it, Duong Hoai said, placing her hands on her hips, her lips curling in disdain. That girl only knows how to stir up trouble. It's really annoying, the short-haired girl scoffed, continuing. That's right. We worked hard to be independent and self-sufficient, yet she still leads in competition. A girl in the group chimed in with a jealous tone. She has such amazing skin. Who told her to work on the weekend to please the elite? The other girl added, You've heard right. They say her sponsor is an old man from the military district, so all her resources come from connections. The 3 of them continued their discussion, unaware that just behind the nearby tree, Lam Fong was leaning back quietly, listening to every word. He clenched his fists, anger rising within him. People like them only know how to stab others in the back when they can't compare to others. This is outrageous. Just now you accused me of secretly taking photos in the bathroom and stealing underwear. It must be you. Thinking this, Lam Fong stepped out from his hiding place, his icy gaze fixed on the 3 girls as he loudly mocked. I thought you were someone important. Turns out you're just a bunch of losers barking loudly. Hearing the voice, the 3 girls jumped, turning around to recognize the person in front of them. The short-haired girl asked immediately, Is that him, Duong Hoai? Yelling in annoyance, Lam Fong stepped forward. The short-haired girl pointed directly at him and shouted, Lam Fong, you're just a useless person. What right do you have to show off here when you haven't even awakened your abilities? All 3 burst into mocking laughter. After they laughed, Duong Hoai stepped forward, making a graceful gesture, lifting her foot in a playful challenge. That's right. Be careful or later you'll have to kneel and lick the soles of my shoes. Just at that moment, as Duong Hoai finished speaking, a blue lightning bolt shot straight at her. Duong Hoai was knocked back, letting out a painful cry. The 2 girls with her were shocked. One turned to look at Duong Hoai while the other stared wide-eyed at Lam Pong. Lam Fong's hand was still crackling with thunder. He pointed directly at Duong Hoai, laughing loudly. "Sorry, I just awakened my abilities and they're hard to control. Now hand over all your points." Contrary to expectations, the other two girls not only refused to give up their points, but also began to remove their clothes. The short-haired girl spoke flirtatiously. "Oh my! It's just points. It's no big deal. Even if we have to compensate with our bodies, we're fine with that." Lam Fong turned away disgusted. "Don't humiliate my cosmetics. I'm not interested in products like you." The two girls were enraged by Lam Fong's disdainful attitude. They immediately charged at him, shouting in unison. One of the two placed her hands on the ground, instantly activating her abilities to create two towering stone walls surrounding Lam Pong. The other girl, possessing rubber abilities, stretched her arms out and shouted, watching as the two stone walls quickly closed in, trapping Lam Pong in the middle while her rubber hands tightened around him. The skinny, short-haired girl then turned and shouted, "Duong Hoai, stop pretending to be dead. Quickly crush him." "Duong Hoai, you fatso." Just knocked back, she immediately used her abilities, inflating her stomach and launching herself into the air, then landing hard on the wall that was trapping Lam Pong. "Scream and die!" The terrifying impact sent rocks flying everywhere, dust rising and obscuring everything. The short-haired girl thought Lam Pong had been dealt with and began cursing down at the ground. "I really feel like I want to die," the girl with the long purple hair asked, but everything was already in ruins. "What should we do now?" The short-haired girl paused for a moment and then told the teacher it was caused by a strange beast. Just as her words ended, a beam of dazzling golden light burst forth from the crack in the ground, shocking all three girls sitting above. The golden light exploded, sending rocks flying everywhere. Lam Fong reappeared, his eyes filled with killing intent, his whole body surrounded by brilliant golden lightning. He coldly smiled, saying, "I gave you a chance, but you wasted it." The short-haired girl was speechless, surprised and scared. How could you?" The other two girls didn't hesitate and charged forward again, shouting loudly, "No, you should be scared, come on." Seeing the two girls rushing at him fiercely, Lam Fong laughed with delight. "Ha ha!" He casually waved his hand, unleashing a powerful lightning strike that hit both of them. The girls were struck by the violent electric shock, leaving them completely paralyzed with no strength to resist. All they could do was scream in pain. Finally, Lam Pong withdrew the lightning. The three girls were utterly exhausted, slowly collapsing to the ground. He landed softly, coldly, observing the result of his actions. This was the consequence of opposing him. Then he took out his phone, a sinister smile forming on his face. He needed to post something to celebrate. He thought about what title would provoke the most resentment and finally took a picture. A photo of the three girls lying unconscious on the ground with the caption, "Sisters, look at what Lam Pong has done. How boring." At that moment, a mechanical voice from the system echoed in his mind. "Mission accomplished, destruction and looting successful. You have received 800 negative points." Hearing the announcement, Lam Pong frowned, his tone dripping with disdain. "Destruction and looting, those were just flowers. What kind of ridiculous standards does this system have?" Not wanting to linger at the scene, he continued his journey, calculating in his mind that he needed to conserve energy and think of other ways to earn points. Ideally, he wanted to find a way to benefit without having to spend anything. While walking, he encountered two naive students resting under a tree. What a perfect opportunity. It was like someone was willingly offering him points. Lam Fong approached without hesitation, his voice full of intimidation. "Hand over half of your points or else you'll get a taste of my lightning." The two students immediately panicked, stammering. One of them tried to argue back. "What gives you the right?" "Oh, what gives me the right?" Lam Fong calmly raised his phone, still displaying the earlier post, with one hand ready to unleash lightning. He replied nonchalantly, "Of course it's my powers and the fate of those who oppose me." The two students, realizing they had no chance of resistance, quickly surrendered. Okay, we'll give it." At that moment, the system chimed in excitedly. "Successfully deceived your classmates. You have received 300 negative points. Congratulations, host. You have achieved the title of scammer." Hearing the system label him as a scammer, Lam Fong smiled mockingly. "What's this scammer title?" He immediately opened the system to check the details, revealing his personal information. Lam Fong low-level awakened title scammer. Below it was an explanation: "Successfully deceiving others increases your negative points by 20. After reading it, he pondered, so that's how it works. The more titles of villain he had, the greater the benefits from negative points. This ridiculous system was encouraging him to continue down the path of evil. His villain value was currently 1,500. He looked at the number, resting his chin in thought. He needed 100 more points to complete a round. He had to think of a way to earn more points. One student who had just been threatened couldn't contain his anger and suddenly jumped out from behind the bushes, shouting defiantly, "Lam Fong, don't get too cocky. The class monitor will definitely deal with you," Lam Fong, feeling bored, replied. He swung his hand hard, delivering a powerful slap to the student's face. "We have to think of the way to earn more points." A student who just got bullied couldn't contain his sudden anger and jumped out from behind the bushes, shouting defiantly, "Lam Fong, don't get too cocky, class monitor. Are we going to deal with Lam Fong?" "Sadly," he replied, swinging his arm hard and landing a powerful slap on that guy's face. The person next to him was also stunned. Lam Fong chuckled coldly, his eyes sharp. "Ha Chu Hao Vu, sooner or later I will kill him." The system's voice echoed again. "Revenge on your classmate successful." He earned 120 points in villain value. After dealing with the stubborn student Lam Fong, he pulled out a stack of reward cards, smiling with satisfaction. "Finally, I have enough to draw." After 10 consecutive wins, he slowly waved the stack of cards, mumbling, "Now is the time to test my luck." The scenery changed, shifting to a control room. Above was a large map displaying information and the locations of all the students below, while a row of teachers stood watching closely. Suddenly, someone spoke up. "Look over there, that must be Tunha and Chu Hao Vu's team preparing to attack the boss. Their strength is always at the top among the students this time. So this time they definitely have a chance of success." Hearing this, a teacher turned to Maji, the homeroom teacher of the team, saying, "It seems like your class is about to take the lead again. So enviable, Maji." Maji listened with delight. Internally overjoyed, but outwardly still humble, he replied, "Oh no, it's all thanks to the efforts of Tunha and Chu Hao Vu." Saying this, he lowered his head, secretly smiling with satisfaction. "The boss is not that easy to deal with. This is something I have prepared thoroughly for Tunha." He looked up again, silently lamenting, "Tunha, oh Tunha, who told you to overturn the verdict for the Lam family? I'm just following orders." While Maji was lost in his own calculations, someone suddenly shouted, "Look, Lam Fong's score is rising so fast. Didn't he just awaken his powers? How did he suddenly make it into the top end?" Another person scoffed, "I think that kid must have used some dirty tricks to get those scores. It's not real. No wonder the principal always protects him." The group muttered, convinced that Lam Fong had used underhanded methods. "So this little brat is willing to use any dirty trick." Maji stared intently at the map screen, his eyes deep and inscrutable, silently calculating something. Turning back to Lam Fong, the system announced a new item, Punishment Necklace. After equipping it, can impose penalties on abusive targets. Use with caution. Lam Fong stood among the reward cards he had just drawn. He picked up the new item and smiled. Although he didn't hit the big prize, he drew something quite interesting. He fiddled with the punishment necklace in his hand, pondering who to use it on. "Tunha, I'm not so low as to not have a key point like that. Using it on Chu Hao Vu. Just thinking about it makes me nauseous." Lam Fong continued his journey, walking steadily forward. The system chimed in with 2 consecutive announcements. Master's hated value increased by 100. Master's despised value increased by 100. He took out his phone to check, feeling delighted. It seemed those 2 posts had drawn more hatred. Below the posts, vulgar comments were cursing Lam Fong. He completely ignored them. On the contrary, it was beneficial for him. He walked while calculating, perhaps Chu Hao Vu and the others have already entered the dungeon. I should find a good spot to observe and wait until the boss's health is low, then strike to claim all the rewards. Suddenly, a loud shout echoed from a nearby cave. Everyone regained their focus. This made Lam Fong curious. He quietly followed the voice hiding to the side, thinking to himself, found it. Inside the cave, Chu Hao Vu's group was sitting in a circle. He sat in the middle, and Chu Hao Vu spoke seriously. "In a moment, we will fight the boss." They discussed strategies. He held a branch in his hand, analyzing. "The boss is a level 3 magma hound, an elite type. Besides physical attacks, it can also spit magma." Then he began to instruct, "Tunha, your ability is ice, so you will take on the role of the main damage dealer." As he spoke, he used the branch to draw a diagram of everyone's positions on the ground. "At the start, I will attract the boss's hatred. You all focus on attacking. Make sure to circle around and break its attacks, trying to reduce the boss's health in the shortest time possible." Chu Hao-vu planned meticulously and carefully, seriously encouraging everyone. The important thing is that as long as we unite and cooperate, it won't be too difficult. After saying this, so is there anyone else who has a spot left? I don't understand. Tana, you've been quiet this whole time, but now you finally speak up. As long as you can channel the hatred of the boss, there's no problem. Suddenly, Triyu-tien. The girl sitting beside her started to convulse violently, tears and drool flowing uncontrollably. She let out a heart-wrenching moan, and immediately a fierce flame erupted, enveloping Triyu-tien. Everyone was shocked and shouted, "What the hell is happening?" Tuna quickly explained to everyone, "Don't panic, she just activated her special ability." After activating her power, Triyu-tien seemed to be in a trance, frantically scribbling with a pen. She was drawing erratically on a piece of paper. It turned out she was sketching a wolf with a bolt of golden lightning circling around it. Everyone curiously gathered around Triyu-tien to see what she was doing, each person commenting on the drawing. "It's all so vague. This is a lightning-type ability." Tana shook her head, saying, "That doesn't match the boss's attributes. The Hellhound is fire-type." After finishing the drawing, Triyu-tien stopped using her power. She woke up gasping for breath and looked at her drawing, hesitating. I don't even know what I drew." Chu Hao-vu sat still, observing with a furrowed brow. He thought to himself that Triyu-tien's ability was a bit troublesome. For the Chu family's grand plan, he might need to find an opportunity to eliminate her. Lam Fong, hiding nearby, watched everything unfold from start to finish. He created a small bolt of lightning in his hand, feeling pleased that it coincidentally matched his lightning-type ability. It seems like this boss is a sure thing. Unlike Chu Hao-vu, who found Triyu-tien troublesome, Lam Fong found her quite interesting. Her ability wasn't bad. It would be great if she could be made to submit. Below, Chu Hao-vu and Tu Na had opened a teleportation gate to enter the dungeon. Chu Hao-vu shouted loudly, "Prepare to attack." As soon as they stepped in, they were met with a dog, a massive hellhound with sharp teeth. Seeing its fierce appearance, these people were clearly no match for it. When the dog noticed the intruders, it immediately charged forward. Attacking without giving them a moment to breathe, Chu Hao-vu panicked and ordered everyone to scatter. He activated his diamond shield ability, creating a protective circle around himself, but this insignificant power didn't pose any obstacle to the hellhound. It stomped down where Chu Hao-vu stood, causing the ground to shatter. He struggled, thinking, "Damn it, this isn't how it was supposed to go. The boss's attack is too strong." Suddenly, a sharp ice bolt flew in, piercing straight into the boss's face, making it growl and let out a roar. Tuana was using her Ice Mage ability. She created ice shards to attack the boss, but her previous strike didn't affect the hellhound at all. The boss took a deep breath, seemingly preparing to spit something out. It opened, its enormous mouth releasing a terrifying, fiery force. Faced with this powerful speed, Tuna quickly tried to block the attack while shouting, "Chu Hao-vu, hurry up and draw the boss's hatred." Hearing this, Chu Hao-vu quickly ran around creating firepower. But instead of helping, the corners of his mouth curled up slyly. "Hey, Tana, today will be your last." Over here, Lam Fong stood on a high rock, observing for a long time. While watching, he chuckled with satisfaction. Chu Hao-vu was clearly being lazy. "I need to go back." This situation. Tu Na poured all her strength into unleashing a wave of power, causing the gigantic two-headed wolf to be quickly frozen. While fighting fiercely, she couldn't help but wonder what Chu Hao-vu was doing. Not caring anymore, she had to rely on herself. Immediately, Tu Na used her ultimate ice domain skill, sending sharp ice shards, shooting out and rising around the two-headed wolf. With its bright shining eyes, it was soon encased in thick ice. Everyone saw this and cheered joyfully. Tu Na is amazing. Triyu-tien was also delighted, relieved that nothing bad had happened. But Chu Hao-vu, standing behind, looked at them with disdainful eyes. "Ha ha, the show has just begun." The frozen two-headed wolf suddenly moved a bit and growled a few times. It looked more like a wolf than a dragon, and notably this wolf had two heads. The heat is slowly breaking the ice that has trapped it, and it roars with terrifying howls. Everyone witnessing this is horrified, especially to NHA. Can this really be happening? How can this breath belong to a powerful beast? She immediately turns to Chu Hao-vu and shouts, "Chu Hao-vu, quickly help me hold the boss while the others retreat." However, he remains indifferent, saying, "Sorry, this boss is too strong, we have to run." He smugly adds, "To NHA, just wait here to die, I won't be coming back." "What?" To NHA is furious. "Chu Hao-vu, you bastard." On Lam Fong's phone screen, he sees Chu Hao-vu fleeing through the forest, which leaves him quite shocked. The top student running away in the middle of a battle is indeed shocking news. Just as 2NHA is about to react, the two-headed wolf appears behind her without her noticing. Feeling the dangerous aura, sweat pours down her forehead. Without hesitation, it lunges at her, and 2NHA is knocked away, landing far off in a pile of dirt. Rocks fly in all directions, completely unexpected. Lam Fong, witnessing this, urgently calls out to NHA, but he hesitates. If he saves her, wouldn't that make him the villain? What about the reward for killing the boss? So he hesitates between two choices on what to do now. To NHA and the two-headed wolf are racing ahead with a fierce aura closing in on her. It seems she has crashed into a rock behind her and is now motionless. She may have fainted. The wolf immediately lunges at her. Lam Fong has rushed in from above, directly using his foot to stomp down on the wolf, unleashing a violent surge of electric power. Lam Fong smirks slightly. If I'm going to be the villain, why not take everything I want it all? He quickly positions his hands in a ready stance. Let's play a little pup. The wolf howls and charges at him. Just as it approaches, Lam Fong unleashes his thunderous power at it while striking, saying, "This is definitely an attack angle. Perfect for a villain like me." This is the ultimate move he's using. The wolf with its fiery head grits its teeth and growls, clearly annoyed. Your cowardly behavior has made the beast hate you, gaining 300 value points. After dealing with the villain, Lam Fong calmly remarks, "This little dog is really petty hating me over such a small matter." At this moment, the wolf is still moving, absorbing power. Lam Fong quickly clenches his fist tightly, a fierce aura radiating around his hand before he strikes. He punches its head with his ultimate move, sending its body rolling several times from the impact. Lam Fong lands quickly. He can't delay any longer. The next strike has to be a fatal blow, but the boss's health bar hasn't hit the bottom yet. It's really giving me a headache. He opens the charging port. Right, I still have a card that boosts my powers tenfold. I'll use it to end this. Just as the boss is gathering strength for its final blow, he takes out that card ready to finish the fight. This little game should come to an end. The attack created by the two heads of the boss is launched, forming a vortex rushing straight at him. He thought it would cause damage, but Lam Fong instead uses lightning to shoot back at it. The terrifying power instantly sends the beast back to its ancestors. The system announces that the lava hound has been defeated and a treasure chest opens. Seeing this, he feels very pleased, not expecting to find an A-level awakening core here. This is an important material for superhumans to break through. This reward is truly extravagant. Lam Fong slowly walks over to 2NHA, who is unconscious in the corner. He sits down, observing and reflecting. This girl still loves to show off. Luckily, I awakened my powers. To NHA, lying unconscious looks very much like a beauty. She seems to be in a deep sleep. While he gazes at her affectionately, suddenly, a voice rings out, "The wicked woman is back, run, little girl." To NHA stands firm, holding a large stick, shouting fiercely, "If you want to get hit, come here." The cruel kids quickly scatter in panic. "Wow, so scary," Lam Fong is deeply moved, exclaiming, "To NHA, even when you grow up, you're still always there for me." The cruel kids quickly scattered in panic. "Wow, that's really scary." Lam Fong was deeply moved and exclaimed, "Even as we grow up, you will always be." The target was bullied by a gang once, and when Chu Hao-vu got furious, he was about to hit someone. "Lin Feng, do you want a beating?" 2NHA continued to stand up for him. "What kind of courage do you have to bully a classmate?" He and his gang lost interest and left, getting involved in other people's business again. Back in the present, Lin Feng let her lean against a safe corner. He said, "Thank you for protecting me until now to NHA, but I'm standing up now, and from now on, I'm not afraid of being bullied anymore. It's just that the path I've chosen to walk in the future is different." "Good, that's it. If you get too close to me, you might just get dragged into it." To NHA vaguely opened her eyes. Her condition was truly terrible. Her vision was blurry, and she could see his back gradually fading away. Was that Lin Feng? No, it couldn't be. He went to the group of people. They were all unconscious, but still alive. Lin Feng declared, "Those of you who can survive owe it to me. So you have to pay something back, right?" Excited, he rushed over to grab the points from those people. "These points are mine, little ones." "Great, I hit the jackpot, hey. Chu Hao-vu had brought the teachers over. They were extremely anxious. "To NHA, nothing must happen or the principal will blame me. I can't handle that, don't worry. To NHA is among the top students, nothing will happen to her." He chuckled to himself. You all just prepare to clean up to Na's body. The scene before them left the teachers astonished. All their precious students were lying on the ground. How could this be? Quick, quick, get the medical team here! Everyone scattered to check their conditions, quickly rushing to treat the injured students. Meanwhile, Chu Hao-vu glanced around with a deceitful, malicious look. He spotted Tu Nha sitting motionless in a corner and felt secretly pleased. Tu Nha is dead awesome. It seems the plan has succeeded perfectly. Then Hao-vu immediately pretended to be heartbroken and blamed himself. I'm sorry to Nha, I'm sorry everyone. Lin Feng stood aside, mocking that performance. Oh, my kind class monitor, stop pretending for pity. Chu Hao-vu was stunned. Lin Feng, why is he here? The teachers were also surprised. Lin Feng, how could you appear here? Chu Hao-vu, truly talented, immediately shifted the blame onto him. You were the one who caused the chaos, that's why we failed to eliminate the boss. He quickly dismissed his accusations. Who said we failed? The reward from the boss was already in my hands. To prove it, he showed them the small item glowing brightly. This is definitely not fake teachers. The teachers were astonished. No way! How could you have taken it down? Chu Hao-vu was left speechless, unable to say a word. How could the boss be killed by Lin Feng? What the hell is going on? But his creativity was truly more astonishing. Chu Hao-vu immediately concluded, you must have used some despicable trick to steal the boss's reward from me. The teachers were still in shock. This can't be! How could you possibly kill it? Lin Feng did not deny it. Instead, he admitted to his own despicableness. When dealing with monsters, using every trick to win is what matters most. And he smiled wickedly, his attitude extremely arrogant. How I killed it, you want to know? That's the most important thing. Plus, he smiled wickedly, his attitude incredibly arrogant, 3 parts annoying and 7 parts despicable, saying, how should I kill him? Is it really that important for Chu Hao-vu to cling to that excuse? He pretended to be shocked while sneering at Lam Pong, saying, you're really pathetic. The system announced that the host received 50 villain points. Lam Pong scoffed. There's no way I'm letting Chu Hao-vu get away with this. So being a coward is a form of strength. If you don't agree, just charge at me. You're right. Captain Lope loves to run away. A teacher angrily scolded. Run away, Lam Pong, you useless brat. Do you dare to slander Chu Hao-vu? He was enraged, using the golden sweet chi technique to charge forward. Die, you little scoundrel. His mouth was tough, but inside Chu Hao-vu was filled with fear. He couldn't let that happen. He wanted to use all his strength to eliminate Lam Pong. He absolutely couldn't let him reveal what just happened. However, this is what Lam Pong had been waiting for. Chu Hao-vu, I've been waiting for your punch for a long time. Suddenly, someone stopped Chu Hao-vu. It was Maji. He used vines to create a barrier while enhancing himself to completely block his attack. Chu Hao-vu shouted angrily, What are you stopping me for? I want to kill him. Maji glared at him. The security team is here. Don't act recklessly and ruin everything. Lam Pong clicked his tongue in annoyance. How boring. If it weren't for you, I could have crushed that Chu Hao-vu. The medical team has arrived. Tu Nha was being taken for treatment. They were very careful with every little thing, seeing that Chu Hao-vu couldn't eliminate Lam Pong and couldn't help but curse, damn it. Suddenly, someone spoke up. The principal has something to say. The head of the security department, Trin Van Uy, stepped forward and said loudly, Everything that happened during this trial is valid, including the fact that the candidates robbed points around them, causing an uproar. What's going on? There must be something behind this. Is the principal trying to cover for Lam Pong? She glanced at them with a look full of disdain, especially at Chu Hao-vu, who shouted, Trin Truong Ban, this must be a joke. That brat Lam Pong is ruining everything. Trin Van Uy didn't care about the variables that existed in the monster hunting. You all need to be cautious. In the face of their astonishment, she spoke clearly. Today you all only lost points. Your lives could have been at stake. Everyone looked dazed. Lam Pong added fuel to the fire. Actually, my results from this trial are not good at all, far from expectations. He directly provoked them. My low score is because none of you here are trying. The atmosphere that Trin Van Uy had just calmed down surged again. Damn it, this brat, does the school even have rules? You shameless scoundrel, stealing our points and still mocking us, don't stop me. I want to kill this lowly scum. Lam Pong just scoffed, seemingly uninterested. He stepped forward, warning, Don't think you can control the situation. Just leave this place quickly. The system announced that the bias of your classmates had targeted you, receiving 50 villain points. So that's enough. Lam Pong happily left. He even swaggered away, leaving behind a sound as he transitioned back to the peaceful residential area. Lam Pong sat in his room, happily anticipating, wow, that's enough for a draw after 10 consecutive tries. Come on, let's try our luck. The cards quickly flashed past his head. The draw result announced, congratulations, host, you received the stealth card for 2 hours. Lam Pong sighed heavily. Why is it still just that tea? Let's try our luck. The cards quickly flashed before him, and the result of the draw was announced. Congratulations, the host has received the hidden card. Lam Pong sighed heavily, wondering why it was still just... The purple reward is guaranteed, but when will the golden one appear? In that legend, I seriously pondered that I only have 500 points left. I need to think of a way to earn them quickly. Quickly earn points for the villain character. Lam Pong laughed mischievously, remembering something. That's right, the videos of Chu Hao Vu escaping can still earn points, so he quickly posted it on the Hot City forum, selecting and following Lam Pong. The hot title made the class president fear and abandon his teammates. The post attracted quite a bit of attention, and below in the comments, the mouse silently replied to this video. Is it really true? It feels a bit off. The wings of Hao Hao. Don't trust this video, it's a fake. He quickly wrote a reply to confess his false identity. What this video is me Lam Pong's comment section exploded. Next to a few comments that seemed to trust him, the majority were slandering Lam Pong. Little bluebird, what is this? Is Chu Hao Vu really like that? What are you saying about Hao Hao's wings? Our Hao Hao is not like that. The little bluebird replied, what's wrong? Are you feeling heartbroken for your brother? The wings of Hao Hao replied to Lam Pong. You're just a jealous jerk trying to slander Hao Hao. A very serious girl shouted, calling on the sisters to quickly get involved and adjust the comments. Maybe it's the account of Hao Hao's wings. A chubby woman with a face full of freckles and 2 braids held her phone, staring intently. Loudly, we need to restore Hao Vu's image. We also need to completely slander that bastard Lam Pong. It turned out to be Tran Tin Tick. Everyone else frowned when they saw this. The image on the screen showed a fierce expression, gritting teeth. The system notified a series of posts titled, Son the Traitor Lam Pong. The post titled, The Bad Behavior of the Thief Lam Pong, and another titled, That Kid Stealing Underwear. What right does he have to slander and try? The system concluded that he was being splashed with dirty water by others. Received villain character points, 10 honor points on the internet were significantly reduced. Earned villain character points 150, and he was targeted by a group of haters. Earned villain character points 200. He rested his head on his hand, lying on the bed, looking at the notification and smiling, thinking that these slanders were indeed like timely rain, just enough points. The villain character needs to withdraw another meter again. One hand, Lam Pong pressed the system screen, laughing. Come on, golden round my legend, I assure you here comes the golden one. A rectangular golden card emitting dazzling light appeared. The system notification congratulated the host for receiving the card Robbing Across Worlds. Lam Pong jumped up, holding the card he just drew with both hands, joyfully thinking, great, I'm so happy. Could it be like last time, able to cross worlds to rob others' abilities? Suddenly, a stream of blue light flashed with strands of light. Passing through him many different loops, Lam Pong was startled. He sat back, resting his elbows on the cold ground, looking up at the sky surrounded by soft grass and trees. Above, covered by many ancient trees, forming a dome of light, unable to let much in. Many large white bubbles floated gently in the cool air surrounding Lam Pong. He stared blankly, assessing this. Is this in the world of that pirate manga? In front, the tall trees began to crash down, and many people ran in panic towards Lam Pong, shouting, Run, that Satan is coming! He turned his head to look in that direction, not understanding the situation. A tall figure strode forward, his body enveloped in black-purple hockey, making the panicking crowd look like little people. Help! Someone shouted. The strong wind on the ground stirred up dust, and Lam Pong sat on the ground sweating. The system notification detected a noble counterattack ability. Do you want to proceed with the robbery? The person standing in front of him was a fluffy-haired man wearing a gray, bare-eared hat, black sweatpants, and a blue coat with a star symbol on his chest. Lam Pong stood up, electricity radiating from him. Leaning forward, he ran over, saying loudly, Don't talk nonsense an opportunity like this. Of course, I want to activate the lightning speed. In an instant, he appeared behind that person. As he lifted his legs to prepare for a jump, Lam Pong's hand slammed hard into the back of the large man. The system announced congratulations to the host for successfully stealing. Acquired the S-level counterattack ability Noble. Preparing to teleport back to the large man's cat-pawed hand, Lam Fong smiled in the moment before disappearing. Not forgetting to say thank you for the gifted ability, he bid farewell to the giant's strike, which soon faded away. Striking the empty space violently down to the ground in pieces, Lam Fong was teleported back, falling face first onto the ground, and cried out, "Ugh!" He looked up confused, asking what was happening. Looking at the system panel showing that the noble counterattack ability had not been activated, Lam Fong wondered why it was still inactivated. The system explained that the host was currently a primary awakened individual and needed to upgrade to a higher awakening level to activate the ability. He smiled, holding 3 skill cards, mumbling that it turned out he was lacking in rank. Luckily, he had previously drawn a bunch of experience cards. The system panel expanded with many arrows. The system congratulated the host for breaking through to the intermediate awakened level. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to the advanced awakened level. The panel displayed that the noble counterattack ability had been activated. Lam Fong still held the experience card and smiled, calculating the newly activated skills. Tomorrow would be the day Chu Haovu would meet his doom. The next morning at Fengyun University, Chu Haovu sat at his desk, grinding his teeth, his face darkened, surrounded by a purple aura. His fists clenched, cursing that bastard Lam Fong for posting a video of himself running away. "I will definitely kill you." Nearby classmates sensed the dangerous aura, whispering, "This is real killing intent, so scary." A teenager ran into the classroom, pointing towards the door, shouting, Chu Haovu, I found that bastard Lam Fong." Seeing this, he turned his head, the muscles on his face tensed, a fierce look in his eyes, asking, "Really?" The person who just announced this was immediately grabbed by Chu Haovu's hand, pulling him by the tie around his neck. The person panicked, sweating profusely, stammering, He tightened his grip on the tie, dragging the person along. His eyes wide, mouth threatening, "Good, lead the way, now I will send that bastard to hell." Lam Fong walked slowly across the campus. Classmates around saw him and moved aside, taking a detour, whispering to each other, "Look, Lam Fong is coming, I heard he's going to practice this time." Many people had lost to him. The men on the road saw him and quickly turned to run. Some hesitated, looking at his back for a moment, then panicked with someone shouting loudly, Go, don't get close to him." Lam Fong smirked, glancing back, thinking it seemed he finally had the treatment of a villain. Blocking his path, someone shouted, "Lam Fong." He didn't understand what was happening as Chu Haovu and his gang approached aggressively. He activated his ability to intimidate. "And I didn't expect you to come to school." Lam Fong, hands in his pockets, casually mocked the deserter. "Why can you still flaunt your skills here during practice?" Chu Haovu's face tightened, grimacing teeth clenched, cursing. "Damn it, it's you who posted that video today. If I don't beat you up, I'll take your name." Angrily pointing behind him, he said, "Anyway, I plan to kill you. If you have the guts, let's go to the training ground and have a match." Many people in the center of the field formed a large circle with Lam Fong and Chu Haovu in the middle. He sneered, "If you're in such a hurry to die, then I'll fulfill that for you." Chu Haovu slightly crouched, growling as a purple clone appeared behind him, his diamond-like aura bursting forth around him, his fists raised for a lethal strike. The punch swung up, and Lam Fong used his yellow ability to dodge, leaning to the left. In an instant, he jumped up, a whole sky of golden light bursting forth. The wind dust blew in one direction. Lam Fong slowly looked down, laughing disdainfully. "You said you wanted to beat me up, right?" Chu Haovu clenched his fists, shouting, "Lam Fong, are you looking for death?" His foot swung up, kicking forward, the golden light flashing past, causing Chu Haovu to retreat, his face pale, sweating, teeth clenched, thinking, how could this useless Lam Fong awaken such a strong ability? Several young men around commented on Lam Fong's tactics, saying he was just dodging and avoiding, while others replied that he was indeed a worthless person. The young guys around commented on Lam Fong's strategy, saying it was too trivial, just dodging back and forth. Someone replied, "He is just a rotten person." "I really hope the class president can crush that guy, the one with a cast on his arm, the one who got beaten up by Lam Fong before just standing there grinding his teeth in frustration." The boss battle erupted in a cloud of smoke, with that guy trying his hardest to kill Lam Fong and take revenge for me. To NHA murmured, her eyes hazy in bed. "Where am I? I'm in the infirmary, but where are the others?" The nurse pushed in a cart with medical supplies, smiling as she said, "To NHA, you're awake now." She struggled to sit up, and the nurse said, "To NHA, you need to rest well." She didn't care and pressed her hand against the side of her head. The IV was still attached, and she glanced to the right down the hallway. Two NHA dashed off, ignoring the IV bag, hurriedly pulling the line out, murmuring anxiously that she couldn't be left behind. "We have to go save them!" In a flash, she bumped into the solid body of a man, the impact making two NHA cry out. In front of her was the third young master, Tamjia Tamteen. He looked down and said, "To NHA, why are you running out here?" She looked up and replied, "What exactly is that training about?" Tam Tien turned his face away, complaining that the training was all messed up because of that jerk Lam Pong. He took everything, not only the boss reward, but also snatched away to Na's points. Looking down, Huang Mong spoke up, "He stole the boss reward." "Isn't Lam Pong supposed to be powerless?" He replied, "That guy awakened his powers in the dungeon and is really arrogant now." Tam Tien held up his phone screen showing the live battle. The screen was filled with dazzling powers. With many people around watching, he explained, "Look, Lam Fong is challenging Chu Hao Vu in the training ground." Tam Tien sneered, "I think he's definitely going to get wrecked." She stared wide-eyed and asked, "What Lam Fong is challenging Chu Hao Vu?" To NHA thought back to everything images flashing in her mind, and she raised her hand to cover her mouth. Deep down, she denied this. There's no way. She dashed past Tam Tien, who raised his phone, turning to look, and shouted, "To NHA, you're still not well? Where are you going?" She ran towards the end of the hallway. Echoing back from the training ground, Tam Tien gritted his teeth, his hands clenched in frustration, thinking about how that jerk Lam Fong was managing to do this. To NHA was determined to take him down in the match. The two contestants were evenly matched, exchanging fire in front of the audience. Chu Hao Vu was furious, stepping back, gritting his teeth, and said, "Damn it, Lam Fong is still running around with his clones. Your strength is nothing like in the dungeon. Back then you ran away so fast." Chu Hao Vu stood firm, retorting, "If you have the guts, fight me head on." But it's not like the opponent would just do what he said. Lam Fong kept using his clones to provoke Hao Vu, getting under his skin with his words. "Usually you rely on the Chu family's reputation to act tough, but in reality you're just a waste that the Chu family discarded," he said while dodging, making Hao Vu dizzy. Reaching a new height, Lam Pong's clones became faster. Above him, he said, "Besides the Chu family, you have nothing at all." Hao Vu could only look up helplessly, cursing. "Shut up, you useless piece of trash." Over here, the cheerleading squad of Tron Tin Tik was also very enthusiastic, shouting loudly, "Go, go, Hao Vu, quickly take him down." Lam Fong was truly a despicable jerk. Suddenly, those bitter words from Tin Tich made the system display show that Lam Fong was receiving the disdain of his classmates, gaining 50 character points. His classmates received 50 character points, and the villain made Lam Fong very pleased, thinking that the audience watching was also quite beneficial. He could immediately withdraw multiple times. Chu Hao Vu was still anxiously searching for Lam Fong, doubting his own abilities, wondering if he was really worse than him. He began to feel cornered, thinking that Hao Vu was increasingly driven by negative thoughts. Suddenly, he had the idea to take that red pill. I started to feel cornered. Could it be that Hao Vu was increasingly driven by dark thoughts? Suddenly, this idea struck him as he held the red pill. He recalled the pill that was given to him, which could help him break through to a new level in a short amount of time, but he had to remember to take it carefully. Did the person who gave it to you warn you thoroughly? In case of an emergency, it shouldn't be used. Returning to reality, those words now floated away with the wind, yet Hao Vu didn't think much of it. He immediately popped the pill into his mouth. Lam Fong, standing above, also noticed that tiny pill. He thought to himself, "This can't be the forbidden drug from the Chu family legends." Instantly, the pill took effect in his body, and Hao Vu exploded with rage, his shirt tearing apart as his muscles activated. His eyes turned bloodshot, looking like a demon, and he let out a roar like a wild beast, his eyes now blazing with fury. Searching for Lam Fong in the blink of an eye, he appeared right in front of Lam Fong, saying, "Got you, you filthy rat." Lam Fong wasn't too surprised and calmly assessed the situation. "But your speed is somewhat interesting," Hao Vu said. "You're going to die." As he spoke, he punched repeatedly like a machine gun at Lam Fong's afterimages, thinking that would be enough to take him down. But Lam Fong effortlessly dodged each of his strikes, blocking every single one. He smirked with disdain. "With this level, it's my turn to counterattack." Chu Hao Vu growled in anger. "My diamond shield can withstand high voltage, don't dream foolishly." Lam Fong, hearing this, scoffed and asked, "Who told you I would use electricity?" Lam Fong extended his hand towards Hao Vu, gently executing a high-level counterattack. The entire electric current surged through Hao Vu's body as if he were being X-rayed, leaving him paralyzed. Chu Hao Vu cried out in pain as the electric shocks coursed through every cell in his body. When the technique ended, he collapsed at Lam Fong's feet, screaming in agony, "Ah!" The onlookers were also shocked mouths agape. The cheerleading squad of Tran Tin Tich stood frozen eyes wide open, unable to believe what was happening. No way Hao can't lose. Not stopping there, Lam Fong stomped on Hao Vu's chest, causing him even more pain as he gritted his teeth to endure it. Lam Fong, pleased, asked, "Weren't you so full of yourself just now? Now you look like a dead dog." This time, his foot no longer pressed on Hao Vu's chest. Instead, he directly stomped on his face, a huge humiliation. Suddenly, he turned around, sensing something. Something's off. There's a killing intent. Lam Fong quickly leaped away to face the newcomer, who was none other than Chu Hao Vu's accomplice, the equipment supervisor, Chu Nam. He thought to himself, so Hao Vu took the pill and still couldn't defeat Lam Fong. Hao Vu lay on the ground, drooling, his face and body bruised and unresponsive. Looking like this, he truly was a waste. However, Chu Nam still taunted Lam Fong, saying, "Treating a classmate so cruelly, it seems you don't take me seriously, do you, Lam Fong?" He then explained, "We are fighting fairly. This doesn't violate school rules." He thought to himself, why is there such a heavy killing intent? Does Supervisor Chu want to kill me? In just a few short seconds after interrupting, Chu Nam appeared right behind Lam Fong without him noticing. Whether it violates school rules or not, I say. Chu Nam's face twisted, his eyes filled with a heavy killing intent aimed at Lam Fong. "You're a waste of space, go die!" In the blink of an eye, he was behind Lam Fong, using his powers to lift rocks from the ground, gathering them into his hand, forming a massive stone fist. Lam Fong glanced back, assessing the situation. "This guy isn't human. I can handle this." Am I going against the school's regulations? I thought to myself, why is there such a heavy killing intent? Could it be that Principal Chu wants to kill me? Just a few short seconds after interrupting, Chu Nam appeared right behind Lam Fong without him noticing. Is it against the school's regulations or not? I'm telling you. Chu Nam's face twisted, his gaze filled with a heavy killing intent aimed at Lam Fong, saying, "You useless trash from the Lam family, just die." He blinked and was already behind Lam Fong. He used his power to lift rocks from nowhere, gathering them into his hand to form a gigantic rock fist. Lam Fong glanced back, assessing the situation. This guy is not someone I can handle right now. Without hesitation, Chu Nam, a teacher by profession, struck mercilessly at his student. He lunged at Lam Fong like a beast, not seeing the enemy but only a massive explosion erupting, shrouded in thick dust and smoke. This forced the students outside to shield their eyes from the blinding dust. Suddenly, a woman appeared holding her ground. She had blocked Chu Nam's previous attack with 2 swords of her own. Her hands were steady, showing no fear as she countered his strike. The cold gaze belonged to none other than Trin Van Uy, the head of the security department. This left Lam Fong, who was on the verge of collapsing behind her, astonished. He couldn't help but be surprised. Without withdrawing his strength, he continued to use his techniques. Chu Nam was stunned by her actions. The head of the department could not cut through stone, but here she was. "Do you want to die?" Trin Van Uy did not back down, maintaining her technique. "If you think so, let me show you." As a man, he showed no mercy to women. He jumped up, preparing to strike Trin Van Uy, who had the ability to control magma. He began summoning large stones with his powers to attack her. Van Uy did not stand still and take the hits. She rolled and dodged the falling stones with incredible speed. Her movements were swift and graceful. Meanwhile, 2 stone walls rose up around her, pressing in on Van Uy from above as the stones fell. It must be said that Chu Nam was no gentleman. Trin Van Uy crossed her 2 swords, channeling her powers, the blue light enveloping them. With a single strike, she shattered the walls into pieces effortlessly. Both of them were masters, and in an instant Van Uy was above Chu Nam, ready to dive down. "Ha ha!" She spun around, creating friction to enhance her strike. At this moment, all Chu Nam could do was defend himself. Lam Fong watched the battle intently, not blinking. He was surprised by the abilities of both of them, precisely controlling their powers and their strong physiques. This was truly a battle between superhumans with someone lurking behind. My parents at least need to be superhuman. It seems I need to speed up my leveling up. Suddenly, a pair of slender legs and black stockings appeared, wearing high heels with a red aura surrounding her. She stepped forward with a force akin to feminine power. Was that enough chaos? The woman with long red hair simply stood with her arms crossed easily, controlling both Trin Van Uy and Chu Nam, leaving them unable to move, only able to cry out. In her black stockings and form-fitting dress, she was none other than Liu Mong Li, the former transformation master. The sudden appearance startled Lam Pong. "Is this Mong Li Chu Nam?" he's still shouting while stealing. She pointed at Chu Haovu, who was lying face down on the ground, having been electrocuted by Lam Pong. "I'm just enforcing school regulations." Lam Pong stood up to defend himself in front of the principal. "I really wanted to knock him out. Who would have thought he couldn't even fight back? In a public duel, he used drugs. Now he can't handle the side effects and collapsed. What does that have to do with me?" Hearing this, Liu Mong Li turned to ask Chu Nam, "What kind of drugs did you take?" When questioned, Chu Nam began to panic, defending himself. "That's just asthma medication since childhood. Chu Haovu has had asthma. I must keep this a secret. She must never know about the banned substances." He quickly called out, "Someone take Chu Haovu to the infirmary." Suddenly, a girl named Manhwa approached from behind Lam Pong, asking, "Hey, are you okay?" He coldly replied, "What are you doing here? How could I have a problem? I'm not as weak as you." Surprised by his harsh words, Na widened her eyes in disbelief. Seeing this, Mong Li said, "Na, why aren't you taking care of your injuries? Why did you come here? I order Trin Truong Koa Van Uy to take you back. Don't embarrass yourself here." Trin Van Uy replied emotionlessly, "Understood, miss." She tightly grasped Na's arm, pulling her away. "Let's go." But Na still tried to hold on, calling out to Lam Pong as she was being dragged away. She stumbled, but turned back to look at the boy who had just awakened his powers, feeling proud of him despite his recent awakening. Meanwhile, at the scene of the earlier incident, Liu Mong Li turned and walked away, saying, "Lam Pong, come with me to the office. Students are most afraid of being called to the principal's office. Do you find this troublesome?" The principal's office is just one thing after another. Liu Mong Li stood by the window with her arms crossed, turning to Lam Pong and saying, "Lam Pong, I know you just awakened your powers, but you can't push yourself too hard. It can have negative effects." Lam Pong sat in the chair, leaning back with his eyes closed, casually asking, "Really? Is it better to be bullied like before?" Liu Mong Li turned her head back, frowning slightly as she looked at him, exclaiming, "That's not right. Besides, I won't let you be bullied by others." Just as she finished speaking, his face darkened as he slammed his hand down on the table, angrily shouting, "What does it matter to say such nice things now? Where were you when I was being bullied?" After that, he gently closed his eyes. With a hint of disdain, he said, "Fine, fine. I understand that someone like you has big calculations," Liu Mong Li said softly, lowering her head. "Dare to look at me now. I admit my mistakes. I really didn't do well before, and I don't expect your forgiveness. I can only make up for it a little to show my intentions." As soon as she finished speaking, Lam Pong suddenly rushed forward, startling her. He asked, "So how does the beautiful Liu plan to compensate me?" Liu Mong Li approached her desk, gently brushing her hair with one hand while rummaging through a drawer with the other. "I plan to arrange a test for your powers." She presented 2 sheets of paper in front of him, saying, "Fill out this form. Once the test results are in, I'll provide you with the corresponding resources for leveling up." Looking at the 2 sheets of paper in front of him, he exclaimed in surprise, "This!" He sat down in the chair, then laughed disdainfully, casually refusing, "I don't need your charity. It's better to let the good kids have it." In his mind, he thought that he still couldn't reveal his trump card to avoid attracting attention. He couldn't do the test. At his refusal, Liu Mong Li slammed her hand on the table, her expression filled with anger. "Lam Pong, without the resources from the field, it's very difficult for you to raise your level." Lam Pong wasn't lacking either. He immediately stood up, looking at her and replying, "You can't even support a single talent, yet you want to help me level up. What nonsense are you talking about?" After that, he left. Before leaving, Lam Pong glanced at Liu Mong Li and raised the ring on his hand, looking at her with a challenging expression. "But this ring I will accept." After he left, she leaned her hands on the table and sighed. "This kid." Suddenly, she fell into silence, her gaze drifting down as she carefully observed the woman who was in the photo with her, then exclaimed, "Sister, Van, I'm so sorry. I still can't take good care of Lam Pong, causing him to misunderstand me." After that, Liu Mong Li slowly lifted her head, looking up at the ceiling, her eyes filled with thoughts. "Fortunately, Lam Pong has awakened his powers, so don't worry. I will help him grow to the point where he can take on the rewards for both of you. On Lam Fong's side, he held the ring in his hand, observing it closely while thinking, "This is my mother's ring. Why is it with Sister Mong Li? Did she forget?" The big villain doesn't have such good feelings. As he walked down the street, people around him kept talking. "Did you hear Lam Fong just defeated Chu Hao Vu? That's right, he was too ruthless. We should keep our distance from him." Meanwhile, the system announced that the host's bad reputation had spread far, increasing the villain's value by 300 points. The classmates were filled with fear, and the villain's value increased by 150 points. As Lam Fong walked, his eyes showed clear delight as he thought, not bad, the villain's value. It's getting even more for me. That's definitely less. Let's see what the school forum says. Then he immediately picked up his phone to check online, finding countless negative comments and information about him. Lam Fong truly shamelessly bullying a person with asthma. Hao Vu is really pitiful, truly scared that in the second half of his life he will be paralyzed. Reading this not only made him angry, but also incredibly entertained. He smiled, secretly muttering about the uselessness of that person who couldn't even fight back after taking medicine, but that medicine was surprisingly strong, especially when it was behind him. This was the claw of the mutated beasts attacking him from behind. A huge explosion rang out, creating a massive shockwave that also sent the mutated beasts flying away. Lam Fong's body was enveloped in a source of electric energy as he slowly descended from above, blocking the mutated beasts in front of him, staring at the two crazed beasts before him. He thought to himself, "This is a safe zone. Why are there mutated beasts here? It seems someone is deliberately causing trouble." At their appearance, the crowd around couldn't help but panic, shouting and running in all directions. "It's a mutated beast run!" Lam Fong raised his hand, beginning to unleash his powers, his eyes filled with hesitation as he thought, "Do I really have to act here?" Just then he noticed the crowd standing nearby. They kept pointing, and an old woman shouted at him, "Lam Fong, you brought this disaster upon us on purpose." An old man standing beside her chimed in, "What a calamity, no father, no mother." "Lam Fong, do you want to get us killed?" Hearing their insults, he turned his head to observe, thinking to himself, "Usually these people bully me a lot, so today I'll teach them a lesson." Lam Fong didn't respond, and the old woman from afar yelled at him, "You bastard, can't you hear? Get this filthy thing out of here!" At her words, he slightly tilted his body, glancing over, thinking to himself, "With such a fierce attitude, I should take care of this person first." Then he gathered momentum along with his powers. He jumped high, surpassing the mutated beasts. When the two beasts saw him jump, they were furious and immediately jumped up to chase after him. They jumped into the old woman's house, which had just insulted Lam Fong, causing significant damage. Witnessing the scene before her, she couldn't help but be horrified. Clutching her chest, she exclaimed, "Help my house." The old man beside her was also not doing any better. Cold sweat was streaming down his face as he grabbed his phone and immediately called someone. Hello, is this the White Tiger Corps? We are being attacked by mutated beasts. Send someone here quickly." Lam Fong leaped over the rooftops of the city while also unleashing his powers. The system displayed a notification, "The host has entered the envy of neighbors." Neighbors' envy value increased by 150. The host has entered the envy of neighbors, villain value increased by 150. Lam Fong turned his head, glancing back, secretly pleased. Let's increase the villain value more, while the mutated beasts were still not giving up. They kept closely following him. Due to their large size, wherever they went, everything around them was heavily damaged. The people below kept cursing, "You bastard my house, Lam Fong! You are the most hated guy!" After taking a round, he landed on the ground. Lam Fong looked up at them with sharp eyes and said, "It's time to heat things up. You all should get ready to go." A mutated beast charged at him from both sides. Lam Fong unleashed his lightning powers, then used his hands to break the beast's arm, causing it to lose balance and fall to the ground. At that moment, behind Lam Fong, a mutated beast charged towards him. He immediately reacted, turning around to use the mutated beast's arm first, then slashing across the mutated beast that attacked him. Not stopping there, Lam Fong kicked the mutated beast. He unleashed a thunderous attack on the mutated creature, sending it flying into the air. Just as it fell in the distance, there was a crowd of people rushed towards them. It was Bai Chi who stepped forward and exclaimed, "What's going on? There's a mutated beast. How come it was beheaded by humans?" Lam Fong looked at the group, frowning as he thought to himself that they were members of the White Tiger Legion and that he couldn't create conflict with them for now. She immediately approached and asked, "Did you kill both of those mutated beasts just now?" Lam Fong smiled proudly and replied, "Yes, that's right. What's wrong? Do you want to take me in for that?" When she saw him along with her legion, an elderly woman with an angry expression rushed over, pointing at her building and accusing, "Quickly catch that guy. He destroyed all our houses." Hearing her blame him, Lam Fong turned around and spoke, "Auntie, your houses were broken by the mutated beasts. What does that have to do with me?" Suddenly, Bai Chi's eyes lit up. She reached out at lightning speed and unexpectedly touched his shoulder, her face beaming as she suggested, "Are you interested in joining our White Tiger Legion?" Seeing this, he couldn't help but be surprised and exclaimed. She continued to present the benefits of joining full social and health insurance meals and accommodation covered paid leave company trips, many benefits, and year-end bonuses doubled. More importantly, they could fight against the mutated beasts. The people around her watched Bai Chi's actions closely. They kept shouting, "Bai Chi the boss! We're recruiting again. This is the third time this month." On Lam Pong's side, she followed him eagerly, asking, "So are you interested with benefits like this? You won't find a second chance." He slowly turned to look at her and declined. "Sorry, not interested." The old woman stepped forward again, looking at Bai Chi and accusing, "You all need to catch this Lam Fong. He has destroyed all the houses around here." Seeing her continuously bothering Bai Chi, she turned around and angrily exclaimed, "If you keep bothering me, I'm not your babysitter. If your house is broken, go find the city hall. We're only responsible for killing mutated beasts." Seeing that she wouldn't comply with her demands, the woman shouted, "You all are colluding together. I must report you." Lam Pong frowned, observing. In his mind, he thought about how civilians could falsely accuse the host and the Legion of Collusion, earning 500 points for being a villain. Bai Chi and her group left. Before leaving, she didn't forget to turn back and remind him, "All right, if anything happens, we'll go. If later on you change your mind, you can join our White Tiger Legion anytime." Lam Fong watched their figures leave while thinking to himself, "I'm already a major villain. How could I join a legion?" After they had left, he turned back to the crowd that had been shouting earlier, smiling provocatively, and asked, "Didn't you used to throw trash into my house and stir up trouble? Now you're getting your comeuppance, huh?" The woman, seeing this, immediately sat down on the ground, crying and complaining. "Lam Fong, you're a despicable person. Sooner or later, you'll die a miserable death." In the hospital, she reached out, standing in front of the ward door. The doctor beside her looked at him and announced that the surgery was extremely successful. Although Chu's abilities were gone, he had become stronger. He struggled to respond to everyone, then looked into the ward, frowning. "Trash comes into my house and stirs up trouble, and now you're facing the consequences, huh?" Seeing this, she immediately sat down on the ground, crying and making a scene. "Lam Fong, you're such a detestable person. Everything will end badly." My house. In the hospital, Team Tien reached out as he stood in front of the patient room. The doctor beside him looked at him and announced the surgery. It was incredibly successful. Although Chu's powers were gone, he had become even stronger. He struggled for everyone, then looked into the patient room, frowning. In my mind, I thought, "How Vu, you can only help him up to this point. From now on, he will have to rely on himself." Outside, Tien Tien was on the phone asking, "Hello, how's it going?" The person on the other end replied, No, the White Tiger Brigade is here. I can't take action anymore." As soon as the person finished speaking, Tien Tien couldn't help but feel furious. He glared at the phone, shouting angrily, "What a useless bunch! You can't even handle a newly awakened ability user. Don't let me catch you again." After hanging up, he left. The person who had contacted him was hiding behind a wall, secretly observing Tien Tien with a resentful gaze, then declared, "Duang Duangng, I will definitely avenge the two people on Lam Fong's side." As he appeared, the crowd quickly stepped aside, exclaiming, "That bastard is back." Lam Fong, standing a bit away, looked at the people blocking his path and shouted angrily, "What's the matter? Do I need to teach you that dogs shouldn't block the way? If not, then, if there's something, then get out of the way for me." Tien Tien and a few burly guys stood in his way. He looked at them and threatened, "Today the young master must settle the score with you here. Don't come near to Na again or I'll cripple you." Instead of being afraid, he immediately retorted, "Ha! Lucky for you, you can't even lick your own wounds and still come to bother me. I've never seen anyone seek death so quickly." In response to his attitude, Tien Tien immediately ordered his men to attack. "Go on, break his limbs." Following Tien Tien's command, the group rushed towards Lam Pong. He frowned, smiling smugly, while Lam Pong also activated his power. In his mind, he thought, "A leak this big? Offering itself at my door, it would be a shame not to cut it." The group charged at him, their expressions filled with rage. Lam Fong dashed through them even when he turned around. He saw that they were still unaffected, which left him astonished. Tian Tian, standing at a distance, explained, "Shocked, huh, Lam Fong? What they are wearing is the latest insulated suit developed by our Tam Thi group. Even 100 million won't help." Hearing this, he smiled with a hint of disdain. "So you were prepared before coming here?" The group of Tian Tian continued to attack him. Not only was he not scared, but he also laughed loudly. "Ha ha!" Tian Tian, observing from afar, made a mocking request. "If you kneel down and lick my shoes now, maybe I'll give you a way out." While fighting, he suddenly felt something unusual. His expression turned alarmed as he wondered, "What's going on? Why does my body feel so heavy all of a sudden? Could it be?" This is Tam Thien's ability. Tam Thien looked at him smugly, showcasing his power. "Lam Fong, you didn't expect this, did you? My ability is to control gravity." 4 of his men rushed in to restrain him, shouting, "Understood, young Master Tam." Seeing the situation was not good, he activated his high-level counterattack. He looked up, sweat dripping down his face, his expression filled with worry. In his mind, he thought, although the high-level counterattack can help me avoid injury, being tightly held by a few muscle-bound guys isn't good either. Let's see if I can get something useful. Then he focused on the system panel. The system panel displayed a mysterious ability box that could enhance his ability attributes randomly. He looked at the item that appeared in his mind, thinking, a new attribute, lucky me. Let's see what attribute it will enhance for Thunderstorm Intelligence. He immediately focused on the system panel that appeared, revealing a mysterious power box. Using magic powers could enhance the effectiveness of the powers randomly. He looked at the item that appeared in his mind, secretly thinking, a new attribute, what luck. Let's see what attribute will be enhanced for Thundermind. The system analyzed the Thundermind attribute, showing speed and magnetic control. Looking at the item before him, he felt delighted. Magnetic control, that's great. I should find some guinea pigs to test the effectiveness of this new attribute. At this moment, the source of power began to harmonize within him. Lam Fong struggled to break free from the brown-haired guy holding him, feeling something strange and exclaiming in shock. Why does it feel like my hands can't open? Tien from a distance also felt extremely surprised and wondered, wait, why did his electric color change? The ground around them began to tremble and vehicles gradually lifted into the air. Then came a huge explosion. Team Tien, standing nearby, had to raise his hands in front of him to protect himself. When the explosion dissipated, he was thrown back by the force. Team Tien's eyes were still wide in shock as he exclaimed, "This can't be, my plan was supposed to be perfect." At this moment, Lam Fong slowly emerged from the wreckage, saying, "My powers are solely dependent on you and this rotten fish gang, and you think you can bully me." The moment he appeared, Team Tien couldn't help but scream in horror. "What do you want from us, Lam Fong? We're classmates, you know." He tightly gripped the rope in his hand, slowly approaching the guy with a fierce look in his eyes. "Guess what happens when I get closer?" The guy tried desperately to slide away. His face turned pale with fear. "Please, Lam Fong, don't come any closer. I was wrong earlier. Please forgive me, I really messed up." Lam Fong paid little attention to his feelings. He raised the whip and said, "Forgive you, the show hasn't even started yet." Then he repeatedly swung the whip down on Team Tien. With a satisfied smile, he watched the guy scream in pain. "Ouch, ouch." Then he begged pitifully, "Please stop hitting me, I promise I won't do it again." Finally, when Lam Fong decided to stop, he immediately lay down, cradling his head, and pleaded, "Please don't. Hit me again, name your price. I'll meet any condition, just don't hurt me." Lam Fong, using his special ability, looked at Team Tien with a smug smile. "No. What condition? You said it yourself." At the same time, he thought to himself, "This kid comes from the Tam family. I need to push him a bit more. Right last time I took the reward, there was a collar left. I'll show him that shiny collar." He pulled out the golden collar in front of Team Tien. Seeing it, the guy was stunned and exclaimed, "What is that collar?" Lam Fong replied, "Can we exchange it for something else? This doesn't really suit my identity. I'm afraid people will misunderstand." Seeing him hesitate, Lam Fong immediately swung the rope down hard onto the ground and threatened, "No." "What do you mean, any condition? Haven't I hit you enough yet?" Team Tien was horrified, clutching his head, and fearfully replied, "That's enough. Don't hit me anymore. I'll wear it. I'll wear it." Following his words, Team Tien placed the collar around his neck. As soon as he put it on, the collar tightened around his throat. Lam Fong saw him wearing it and couldn't help but feel pleased, thinking to himself, "This collar is easier to use than the Golden Master. Just by the thought it can carry out punishment." From a distance, the curly-haired girl was stunned. She covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Oh my God, how can they do this? This is too much." On Lampong's side, Team Tian's group waved everyone away and shouted loudly, "Get out of the way, don't block the path, make way." At this moment, he calmly sat on Team Tian's back. The guy on the ground waited for him to crawl over while biting his teeth, his eyes flashing with a terrifying hatred. At the same time, he thought to himself, "My life is ruined. All because of that bastard Lampong." A notification appeared in the system. The host's hated value has increased by 50. Nearby, a young man looked at his friend and said, "Poor third young Master Tam. Being toyed with by Lampong is just karma, but this kind of punishment is too humiliating." To NHA stood at a distance, unable to believe what she was seeing, thinking, "Lampong, how can he be like this?" Then, To NHA immediately rushed forward to block Lampong and shouted, "Stop Lampong, even though Team Tien is a terrible person. How can you treat your classmate like this?" Hearing to Na's words, Team Tien felt deeply hurt, thinking, "What goddess she thinks I'm terrible," upon seeing to NHA. Lampong frowned slightly, feeling annoyed, thinking, "How come it's her again? She's such a headache." Ignoring her words, he looked down at Team Tien with a smug smile. "This is Team Tien's own request. Don't believe me." To NHA rushed forward to block Lampong's path and shouted, "Stop!" Even though he found this person really annoying, how could he treat a classmate like that? At Tuna's words, Tom Tien felt deeply hurt, thinking to herself, "What kind of goddess is she? She thinks I'm annoying just by looking at her." Lampong frowned slightly, feeling uncomfortable and thinking, "What the hell?" "It's her again," he thought, feeling a headache coming on. Ignoring her words, he looked down at Tom Tien and smiled smugly as if to say, "This is what you asked for, believe it or not." She asked him why the ring around his wrist suddenly tightened, sending a jolt of pain through him, his face turning pale. What was happening? Witnessing this, to NHA angrily shouted at Lampong, "What happened to you?" He didn't care at all, not even glancing at her, and replied, "This is just how I am. Don't get in my way. Move aside." To NHA was taken aback by his words. After that, feeling hurt, he immediately left. The group of young people watched her figure disappear, exclaiming, "How could they treat to NHA like that? It's outrageous. I really want to teach that jerk a lesson." On the other side, a man was grabbed by the collar and lifted up. He gasped in fear, looking at Tom Tien with pleading eyes. "Tom, sir, I don't like men. Please let me go." Hearing this, his eyes filled with anger as he looked at the man, furiously asking, "What have you turned me into after just half a day?" Seeing the plea go unanswered, the man immediately asked, "So, Tom, sir, what do you want to do?" He quickly replied, "What do you mean collecting protection fees just like before?" Suddenly, the man slowly pulled out a handkerchief from his pocket, thinking to himself how unlucky he was since he had just paid Chu Hao Vu last week. "What are you looking at? You all have to pay protection fees too," he said, turning to the group behind him. After a moment, the boss of these people had collected all the fees. "I've got everything," Tom Tien said, placing the full list of names on the table. "Good job." Lampong sat back, propping his feet up on the table, speaking to Tom Tien in front of him, happily picking up the list to look over, thinking to himself how satisfying revenge felt. He glanced through the list and saw no issues. Lampong looked up at Tom Tien and said, "Great, but you didn't take money from those poor guys, did you?" Tom Tien laughed and replied, "Those poor guys can only give a few coins." Meanwhile, another group gathered to discuss, with one person saying, "Chu Hao Vu just fell, and now here comes Lampong." Someone immediately responded, "Humph, our little brother won't have it easy now. That jerk is collecting protection fees from us. I really want to teach this kid a lesson." As soon as he finished speaking, someone quickly replied, "But even Chu Hao Vu failed against him. We won't." A man with a grim expression said, "If we corner him, with the right timing, location, and manpower all on our side, we can definitely take him down." Someone chimed in, "That's a good plan, kid." A moment later in the restroom, Lampong walked into the stall, calmly putting his hands in his pockets. Suddenly, two people entered, blocking his escape route. In such a cramped space, he couldn't pull off the same tricks as before. The apparent leader stood among them, hands in his pockets, simply saying, while the others chimed in, "Lampong, this time you won't escape. Even if you can hit us each, once we can still make you kneel." Lampong frowned, smiling as he pointed at the group in front of him, his other hand still in his pocket. "Why would I run from you all? I'm surrounded." "Of course you should run. More trash just means more trash." Hearing this, the leader immediately charged forward, determined to beat him to a pulp today. "You're dead." Lampong stood still and suddenly used his strength to break the water pipe on the wall, causing water to burst out, startling the group into stopping. Not good, Run, it's too late. Lam Fong laughed, electricity crackling as he turned around. A terrified scream echoed in the restroom as the golden electricity lit up the entire room with sparks even flickering outside the restroom door. No, I was wrong. Please let me go. The screams of despair rang out continuously as two female students stood in front of the restroom watching the door flash with electric light, confused. No, I'm wrong. Please forgive me. The wailing cries echoed continuously. Two female students standing in front of the KFC door looked at the brightly lit entrance, puzzled by the commotion. What are these guys doing in the bathroom? A moment later, the floor is soaked with water and a bunch of people are sprawled out on the ground, groaning and moaning continuously. The only one still standing tall is Lam Fong, laughing triumphantly at the foolish crowd. He takes a selfie with the group lying on the floor behind him. Lam Sak Van feels proud of his glorious battle achievements. Ha, Lam Fong is really an idiot. To NHA sees the post and quickly turns it off, not happy at all. She suddenly slams the table and stands up frowning, thinking this can't go on. Tonight I have to talk to Lam Fong. I can't let him continue like this. On the other hand, the reputation of the VKFC war god is spreading. Excited to receive 300 points of negative value, Lam Fong lies on the bed looking at the system notifications, speechless. What kind of ridiculous title is this, the VKFC War God? Suddenly, a new message notification pops up. At 8:30 tonight after the woods, I have important evidence regarding your parents' case that I must hand over to you personally. The content of the message leaves him stunned. Lam Fong is shocked, sitting up. Evidence that can clear his parents' name is that easy. This can't be a trap, can it? I can't care anymore. I have to meet this mysterious person. If they dare to play with me, I'll kill them. He furrows his brow, thinking about that night. Lam Fong walks alone under the streetlights. This could very well be a trap, but regarding his parents' wrongful case, he absolutely cannot give up. His eyes are filled with determination. He continues walking forward. Behind him, to NHA watches Lam Fong's back, surprised. Hey, why is Lam Fong out at this time? What's he planning to do in the woods? Lam Fong sits on the grass among the trees, opens his phone, and texts, I'm here, where are you? The other person replies, are you hiding? Behind the tree, you don't believe me. Lam Fong frowns, thinking to himself he knows I'm hiding behind the tree. What a sly guy. He stands up and walks out into an open field, turning back to see two NHA standing next to a tree. To NHA, why are you following me here at this time? Suddenly, a figure appears in the open space in front of him. He looks closely at the person's face, shocked. Teacher Maji, how could it be him? So you care about that case. So he stands there with his hands in his pockets, and Lam Fong immediately shouts, My parents are innocent. Why do those people want to harm them? Maji remains calm, smiling slowly as he says, The reason they want to harm your parents is to gain admission to Feng Yun University. It's a pity that Feng Yun University ended up in the hands of the Liu family. What it was because of Feng Yun University and the principal Lam Fong furrows his brow, the figure of Liu Mong Li appearing in his mind. I remember when I was just a little kid, my dad was beside me watching as my mom and I hugged each other, reminding me not to forget. I needed to know what was happening. My mom cried, trying to hold me tightly, telling me to remember to grow up and go to university. That was the school my parents had prepared for me. Little Lam Fong, not understanding much, hugged his mom tightly and cried, I know. Maji approached Lam Fong, leaning close to his ear, laughing as he said, Seeing you so pitiful, I have to tell you who the mastermind behind this case really is. Just as he finished speaking, he swiftly lunged forward with a knife. Maji shouted, and the knife was thrust straight ahead, the force like lightning, revealing Lam Fong's figure. Behind Maji, sparks of electricity flickered around. Indeed, the teacher and those who harmed my parents were all in cahoots. Maji glanced back, thinking he couldn't fool him. Ha, I didn't expect you to be quite clever. He looked up to the sky and laughed loudly, then suddenly turned back with a fierce expression. So what, either way, you're going to die here tonight. Come out and face me. At his loud shout, a huge beast resembling a scorpion appeared behind Maji. He looked at its claws coming toward Lam Fong, wide-eyed, thinking about the beast. This must be a high-level beast. A round shield enveloped Lam Fong, protecting him from the beast's attack. Could Maji's ability be to control the beast? Looking at Maji still standing there with his arms crossed, Lam Fong speculated that he might have some luck on his side. Today I will definitely kill this brat to avenge you all, Maji said, sounding very confident that he could take down Lam Fong. It turned out the beast that attacked me last time was also directed by the teacher. Lam Fong frowned in anger, recalling the beast that attacked him before. Maji didn't respond, but shouted, "Little brat, kill him for me!" Sharp spikes shot up from the ground, quickly curling toward Lam Fong. Suddenly, two hands pressed down on the ground, creating an ice barrier. It turned out to be NHA, who had rushed out to shield Lam Fong. Using her technique, the huge beast and the thorny vines immediately froze into a large block of ice. NHA indeed couldn't hold back any longer. How troublesome Lam Fong thought looking at the situation in front of him. But this new form of hers isn't bad at all. The attack was blocked by NHA, and Magi's face turned extremely angry. He growled, "NHA, very good, I didn't expect you to come here. Let's settle this once and for all. The debt from the last trial must be paid." Hearing this, NHA also built up her momentum, asking back, "What about the last trial? You were the one who moved first." He manipulated the thorny vines to attack her, his voice filled with malice. "I know, but so what? Either way, you all have to die here today." NHA calmly faced him, raising her hand forward as small shards of ice formed in the air. She used the ice barrier to create a thick wall of ice in front of her. Perfectly blocking the attack from the vines, Lam Fong clenched his fist, the electricity crackling in his hand. He charged at the beast, delivering a powerful punch infused with lightning. Although the beast was struck by the lightning, it remained unharmed. Not a scratch on it. Maji laughed mockingly. "Useless, useless little brat, your lightning ability can't hurt it at all." Lam Fong stepped back, gritting his teeth. Damn it, the lightning has no effect on it at all. He turned to NHA behind him. "Can you help me hold them off for a bit?" NHA dodged. His eyes slightly reddened with embarrassment. I will do my best." At that moment, the system announced his level up, continuously displaying notifications. Finally, congratulations to the host for breaking through to the Intermediate Spirit Awakener level. Lam Fong rubbed his chin, pondering. The Intermediate Spirit Awakener level still couldn't break through the beast's defenses. The strength of an Intermediate Spirit Awakener wasn't enough to completely explode it. The beast still needed to coordinate with its abilities. Looking at the huge system panel in front of him with numbers continuously jumping, a golden card finally appeared, the card for the cross-world heist. He was overjoyed. The legendary yellow color has really come at the perfect time. Holding the golden card that sparkled brightly in his hand, he smiled at it, wondering where this time would take him. A flash of golden light appeared, and he suddenly found himself by a beach. After the light disappeared, Lam Fong appeared there, leaning on his knees. He looked around suspiciously, wondering where he was. Looking at the floating castles in the sky with their strange architecture, Lam Fong stood up from the ground, confirming that he had arrived in the world of fairy tales high above the clouds. In a place where white clouds drifted slowly, two people were standing opposite each other. The old man raised one hand to the sky, and suddenly a bright light flashed as he shouted loudly, causing the sword energy to circle around him. A circle of swords was evenly arranged around him, forming an extremely grand formation. Lam Fong looked up at the sky, filled with swords in awe, his mouth agape at the overwhelming sword energy. It was truly magnificent. Suddenly, beside him, a blue spirit creature appeared, looking quite cute. As soon as it appeared, it was extremely happy, saying, "Finally, I'm free." Little did he expect that as soon as he came out, he would run into a battle between the divine realms. It was truly a feast for the eyes. Lam Fong looked at it with curiosity, asking, "Who are you?" It patted its chest confidently and introduced, "Of course I am the spirit system." Lam Fong reached out towards the old man, and the system interface immediately appeared, congratulating him for acquiring a new ability, the Infinite Sword Heart. He was still being pressured by the old man's aura, but upon receiving the notification, he felt delighted. It worked. The grand formation above was all aimed at him. Lam Fong realized that he had been discovered by those above, and several swords were preparing to shoot towards him. The spirit system panicked and grabbed his hand, shouting, "We need to get out of here, hurry!" Just before the sword struck, Lam Fong vanished from that spot, returning to the forest. The ice created by NHA had scattered on the ground, beginning to melt into puddles, while NHA, still surrounded by a layer of ice, bent down panting. She had used a lot of abilities since earlier. At this moment, Lam Fong had not yet returned, leaving her puzzled about why he suddenly disappeared. Could it be that She continued to breathe heavily, feeling exhausted. Maji, along with the green beast behind him, had just broken through the layer of ice and mocked, "What a pity Lam Fong sold you out." "I can't kill him, but killing you is just as good." he said, pointing at her and ordering the beast beside him. Little DM, kill her for me. It immediately obeyed the command and moved to attack to NHA. She was pushed into a defensive stance, letting out a painful gasp as her body was forced back, crashing hard against a tree. She thought to herself, "This beast is too strong." However, the beast did not continue its attack. To NHA opened her eyes to see Lam Pong standing in front of her, creating a powerful shield to counter the force of the beast's attack. To NHA shouted in worry, "Lam Fong, why did you come back?" She secretly thought, why does it feel like Lam Fong has become stronger? Lam Fong turned back to her and replied, "Of course I came back to deal with those two trash." Maji laughed maniacally, tossing a strange red pill into his mouth. "Coming back is great! I can kill both of you at once!" He shouted loudly as he began to ascend from a mid-level spirit to a low-level superhuman. To NHA stood up from the ground, puzzled, asking, "Isn't that the forbidden drug that Chow Hao Vu used?" Lam Fong also clearly saw the pill. He snorted coldly. As expected, he's cut from the same cloth as Chow. At this moment, Maji still wore a crazy smile, his shirt open to reveal his chest, looking quite deranged. He spoke, "I forgot to mention to you two that I am the owner of an ability that not only controls vines but can also communicate with beasts." Lam Fong shrugged and smiled. "There are many types of abilities, aren't there? So you just learned a foreign language, what's the big deal?" The beast of his seemed to gain more strength, and upon hearing Lam Fong's mockery, he became furious. "Create vines and charge at that sharp-tongued brat, little DM, go and kill this couple." Lam Fong closed his eyes, feeling the fundamental characteristic of the infinite sword heart, which is to control everything. First, he sensed the surroundings and seriously activated his new ability, shouting loudly, "This sword!" Immediately, all the swords around him flew towards him, each carrying an incredibly powerful sword aura. Behind Lam Fong, thousands of swords gathered. The momentum was not small. To NHA looked at the scene before her, her eyes wide in shock, stammering, This isn't the lightning ability, is it?" Seeing Lam Pong like this, Maji immediately slammed to a stop, instinctively taking a few steps back. He couldn't believe his eyes. "No way you can't be the awakened one with dual abilities." Lam Fong raised his hand to gather energy, saying, "Who told you I was the awakened one with dual abilities? You, the frog at the bottom of the well, only know how to learn languages with beasts like you. Just go die." Thousands of swords instantly shot towards him. Maji covered his face, panicking, shouting, "Little DM, save me!" The beast immediately blocked in front of him, taking the attack. As the swords pierced through, breaking into hundreds of pieces, Lam Fong, after using the technique, bowed his head, feeling exhausted, thinking, "Clearly I only used one move. Why does my body feel completely drained?" The system Tin Lin appeared and said, "Host, now you are at the intermediate spirit level. Controlling so many swords at once, of course your body can't handle it." At this moment, Lam Pong's face darkened, starting to breathe heavily. Maji radiated a massive amount of energy, causing rocks around to scatter everywhere due to the vines. Huge thorns were rising from the ground under his command. Maji laughed arrogantly. "Ha ha! You guys are exhausted, then go die for me!" Lam Pong raised his hand, preparing to grasp the wooden stick. In his heart, he thought, "Just a little more, I can't fall here." He immediately charged forward, like tearing through the wind, his own energy appearing around him. He still stood there, controlling the vines, his arrogant demeanor not fading as he continued to laugh scornfully. "Ha ha ha ha! Ridiculous! Holding a wooden stick and wanting to kill me, are you dizzy?" Each word dripped with disdain, but the situation had turned in a completely different direction. Surely he couldn't have anticipated that the moment the words fell, a force pierced through Maji unexpectedly and quickly. He didn't know how it approached him. He only knew that behind him was the image of Lam Pong holding the wooden stick gliding past. Instantly his face turned pale, the arrogant demeanor now replaced with utter surprise, pain, and fear, all reflected in his expression. Blood began to uncontrollably spurt from Maji's body. He could only let out a gasp, and in an instant his body collapsed to the ground like a puppet losing control. From the host, Lam Fong stood firm, not looking back, saying, "Who said a wooden stick can't kill?" Suddenly, at this moment, his face turned ashen as he struggled to walk. At this time, to NHA rushed over from somewhere, her worried expression calling out loudly, "Lam Fong!" He lost his balance, leaning forward. This face was indeed a chance to lean against Tana's chest, making her blush and feel shy. Then Lam Pong completely fainted, his body slowly sliding down, forcing NHA to quickly support him. In her heart, she was very flustered, thinking, what to do? Lam Pong is so close like this. Seeing the situation really wasn't good, she thought, forget it, let's take him home first. The next morning, looking at the sky, it was clear today was a beautiful day. Lam Pong dreamily woke up, the early light making him stir. He rubbed his forehead, vaguely wondering why he was here. He remembered that at this moment, Lam Pong was not wearing a shirt. His strong, healthy body was clearly visible. Looking down, he saw no piece of cloth on him. He immediately panicked. Why are my clothes changed? At this moment, a voice caught his attention. It was to NHA, still half asleep. Her eyes tightly closed, but her mouth still replied, Lam Pong, sorry for the clothes. Your shirt needs a little tidying up, huh? And you didn't forget to compliment me? Wow, your figure is quite sexy. Saying that, she slumped down to sleep soundly. Lam Pong immediately flicked her forehead, and the system announced that it was bullying the cute girl, increasing her villain points by 250. Flicking her forehead was enough to wake her up. Lam Pong immediately asked, what dirty dream did you just have? She blinked, rubbed her eyes, and replied, it was just a normal dream. But Lam Pong continued to ask, then why did you change clothes for me to come here? She shyly looked down and stammered, my clothes got stained with blood, so I just helped you out. Hearing this, Lam Pong said nothing, his head lowered, making the atmosphere even more awkward. Suddenly she said, oh, Lam Pong, why is this part of you so swollen? She stared at that spot, truly not knowing why. Seeing that he wasn't answering, she became even more worried and immediately wanted to pull his leg to see what was popping up. Continuously asking, could it be that you were injured last night? Seeing her act so boldly like that, Lam Pong panicked and shouted, You stop! Let me see, I won't lose any flesh. Where? In the room, to NHA yelled, this is Lam Pong the rogue. It's unfair to say it's from me. You can't blame me. The argument continued in the house. Lam Pong said, who was dreaming earlier saying my figure was attractive? Let me feel for myself. To NHA embarrassed, retorted, that's not what I said. You're too stiff. The system once again announced that it detected the host being misunderstood by the girl, increasing villain points by 200. The two of them, dressed neatly, walked into school. To NHA hesitantly spoke, Lam Pong, I'm sorry about earlier. He just replied, it's fine. Just focus on studying from now on. But one cheek was flushed with 5 fingerprints, completely contrasting with Lam Pong's calm expression. At this moment, to NHA blushed and stood silently beside him. In the schoolyard, many people were gathered and loud voices were heard. Is the principal trying to cover for the suspect? One person agreed, saying, that's right, today you must give us an explanation. They all agreed. If you don't clarify, no one can leave. That's right, the culprit must be punished by law. Principal Liu Mong Li immediately stepped forward and said, everyone please be quiet. I am also very heartbroken about teacher Maji's current situation. Everything is still under investigation. I hope everyone won't act rashly. Suddenly, someone shouted, he's here. The crowd parted to the sides. Lam Pong and to NHA slowly walked toward Chunam, who pointed angrily at Lam Pong and said, Lam Pong, you are the murderer and still dare to come to school? The guy next to him took the opportunity to say, I can testify last night when teacher Maji left, he even mentioned his name. Lam Pong's expression was serious and his tone was somewhat angry. He straightforwardly confronted them. You guys shouldn't slander people, okay? Last night I was at home. Tell me who contacted Maji the most last night. That person is the most suspicious. After saying this, he directly turned to Chunam and asked, do you dare to take out your phone for everyone to check? This startled him a bit. Chunam tried to speak clearly, but sweat was dripping down his face. Last night I was at Chu's house. I have a complete alibi. He then turned to question Lam Pong. And you say you were at home? Who can prove that? The guy next to him takes the opportunity to say, I can testify. Last night when teacher Maji left, he even mentioned his name. Lam Pong's expression turned serious, his tone slightly angry. And confronting them directly, you guys shouldn't slander others, okay? That night I was at home. I keep saying who contacted Maji the most last night. That person is the most suspicious. After saying this, he directly turns to confront Chunam, the head of the department. Do you dare to take out your phone so everyone can check? This catches him off guard. Chunam tries to speak clearly, but sweat pours down his face. Last night I was at Chu's house. I have a complete alibi. He says this and then turns to question Lam Pong. And you say you were at home. Who can prove that? Those people there immediately started buzzing, wondering who knew where this person was last night and who could testify. Suddenly, Tuna's face turned bright red. Without thinking too much, she stammered, "I can testify," naturally grabbing Lam Fong's hand and clearly stating, "I can testify for Lam Fong, oh my." Last night, she spent the whole night at Lam Pong's house, and this sudden hand-holding surprised him, making him stare at the hall like a shocked fan. They began to chatter in disbelief, saying things like, "Is she really the goddess she spent the whole night at Lam Pong's place?" Someone else speculated that she might be the school's beauty who had some weakness that Lam Pong had exploited, which is why she had to say such things. The most surprised person was probably Chu Nam, who couldn't help but directly ask, "So what were you doing with him all night?" Just a vague question. Tu Na made Lam Pong's face flush with embarrassment. The two of them, a guy and a girl in the same room, what else could they do? The group of boys was truly astonished and speechless. "Oh my, how could this happen? That damn Lam Fong, how could he be like this?" At this point, Chunham felt a deep resentment. How could this girl protect Lam Pong like that? Suddenly, a hand pulled Tanha's waist. At that moment, she was snugly in Lam Pong's embrace. He had been silent until now, but finally spoke. "We're both 18. What do we need permission for?" "Do we need the teacher's permission?" The system continuously displayed notifications. The host has fallen into the wrath of the male student. Villain character value received 200 points. The host has been misunderstood as a ruthless person. Villain character value received 200 points. Tuna's honor value has been depleted by the host receiving 250 points. Lam Fong stood aside, grinning wickedly, thinking, "This licking dog attribute is truly easy to exploit like weeds." Principal Mong Li observed the increasingly tense situation and spoke up to interrupt the argument. "Class Supervisor Chu, let's stop here. I will investigate this matter thoroughly." Chu Nam, feeling dissatisfied, loudly said, "I think you are covering for the real culprit." But after a moment, he felt he couldn't stop this. He snorted and said, "At this moment?" In the autopsy room, on the cold operating table, lay the motionless body of Maji. The forensic doctor said, "Class Supervisor Chu, we have clearly examined the victim. She died from a sharp blade striking a vital point." Chu Nam covered his nose with a handkerchief and said, "All right, thank you for your hard work." His face was ashen, secretly doubting. Could the sharp blade have been used by Trin Van Oy, but Trin Van Oy has an alibi? It must be that little brat, Lam Fong. Could it be him? But someone who just awakened a few days ago, could they really have the ability to kill Ma? The principal slammed his hand on the table in anger and exclaimed, "Tu Na, how could you pull such a prank?" Liu Mong Li immediately questioned, "In the situation last night, you should have told me beforehand." Tu Na lowered her head to the ground, stammering, I couldn't think of much at that time." The principal sighed tiredly. "This sudden incident can't be blamed on you. Just go to school. I'll handle the next matter." Tu Na stood up obediently and said, "Understood." Liu Mong Li fell silent, beginning to think. "I didn't expect Maji to hide it so deeply. How many more secrets are hidden in this academy? Could it be that the Chu family has already acted? If so, then I can't wait any longer." The principal turned to Trin Van Oy and said, "The plan has changed a bit. You go find Lam Fong for me." She immediately complied. "Yes, principal." When Van Oy left the principal's office, she immediately called, saying, "Hello, is this the propaganda office? Please announce the teacher's death immediately and emphasize the propaganda." When Van Oy leaves the principal's office, he immediately calls, "Hello, is this the propaganda department? You all need to announce the death of Teacher Ma immediately and emphasize the propaganda." Regarding his brave sacrifice to protect the residents, the other end immediately responded, "Yes, principal, we will notify right away." Lam Fong, holding a long stick, rushed towards Trin Van Oy to attack her. She quickly swung the stick, creating a strong gust of wind that sent Trin Van Oy flying. Fortunately, she reacted quickly, retreating and using both hands to block the attack, weakening it. She was impressed, thinking to herself, "I remember he just awakened a few days ago. How is he growing so fast?" The speed of his growth truly astonished people. He took it as a compliment and smiled in response, acknowledging the talent's maturity. Surpassing ordinary perception, she no longer underestimated him and returned to a fighting stance. She disdainfully said, "Lam Fong, I was going to praise you." A few words, and unexpectedly your tail was already wagging. Saying this was no different than comparing him to a dog, which embarrassed him. Trin Van Oy frowned. It seemed today she had to teach him a lesson. As soon as she finished speaking, she unleashed two moves, the Wind Sword second form. Seeing her techniques as ordinary and dull, he easily dodged the incoming strikes. He teased, "What's wrong? Is that all you can handle?" Saying that, he charged quickly towards her. She returned to a fighting stance, her face serious. "Just wait, Trin. You'll see my true strength, Lam Fong said. As he unleashed the Thunderstrike technique, he quickly closed in on her, pressing her with his attacks. Trin Van Uy managed to draw her sword in time to block his strike. She frowned, thinking, "This kid is harder to deal with than I thought. No wonder the young lady sent me to test his abilities." She quickly regained her composure and sent him flying with a powerful shove. She shouted at him, "Are you trying to escape from sword techniques? These moves are too crude." He didn't care much about that and retorted, "It's just normal, but still enough to deal with you." Seeing his arrogant attitude, she felt a bit annoyed. "Well, today I'll teach you a lesson." With that, she unleashed another technique. The Wind Sword, fourth form, Wind. Elegance saw her unleash such tricky moves. He felt this match was getting tense and could only dodge the incoming strikes. He told himself he had to think of a way. He couldn't let her continue summoning and controlling the wind. Thinking that he took advantage of the wind, pushing him down to the ground, placing one hand on the ground and beginning to cast a spell. The surroundings, as a result, were also affected. The whirlwinds he summoned swept everything in, including bicycles, cans, and other random objects as part of his Thunder Strike technique. Feeling the power from the whirlwind, Trin Van Uy was a bit surprised. She thought, "This is tough. Just how many types of abilities did he awaken?" At that moment, he took advantage of her distraction, quickly spotting an opening she had exposed, and rushed in to seize the opportunity. This next move would determine the outcome, but unexpectedly she countered. She swiftly blocked his attack, leaving him quite surprised. Both of them aimed directly at each other's vulnerable spots. He smirked. "Looks like we're even now, huh?" She glanced at the stick that nearly pierced her and refused to back down. She retorted, "I can't believe I fell for your trick." Both of them simultaneously stepped back, retracting their energy. She spoke up, giving him praise. "This is the trial the young lady arranged. Your performance was decent." With that, she turned around but glanced back, saying, "All right, the young lady has a few words to say directly to you." Hearing that, he cheerfully smiled and replied, "So it's true, Sister Lu arranged this. I guessed right." Then his gaze shifted. Speaking of which, after a long day of training, Lam Fong couldn't help but take another look at her. He admired her figure, thinking, "She looks amazing." Sensing his gaze, she uncomfortably turned her head and asked, "What are you looking at?" As soon as their eyes met, he didn't feel shy at all, and waved his hand, saying, "I'm not looking at anything." She still had a bit of suspicion and turned her head to continue walking, thinking, Lin Fong is indeed, like the legends say, a real lecher. The system seemed to read her thoughts and suddenly displayed a large screen announcing, "Host misunderstood by others as a lecher, negative points increased by 250. Knowing he should be embarrassed but still shameless, he waves his hand and says, "I didn't see anything." She still has some doubts, turning her head to continue. She thinks Lin Fong is indeed, as the legend says, a real wolf. The system seems to read her thoughts and suddenly displays a large screen notification. The host has been misunderstood by others as a wolf. Negative points increased by 250. Are you complaining that your system has issues or not? Really, just one look and I've already become the villain. The system ignores your expression and freely soars in the air, shamelessly claiming it has its own evaluation criteria as long as the conditions are activated. At this moment, Tanha is panting heavily, her body drenched in sweat, and she exclaims tiredly, "So I'm casting a spell inside the ice block." She thinks to herself, "It's so hot, I feel like I can't hold on much longer." Outside, a group of people is observing Tanha. A doctor turns to Lu Mongli and asks, "Should we stop the experiment? The temperature inside has reached almost 200 degrees Fahrenheit." She replies, "No need to adjust, just raise it by 10 more degrees." Liu Mongli is intently watching Tanha, her gaze never leaving her for a moment. The flowers growing in the greenhouse still lack training. Tanha seems to sense something unusual. She's breathing faster. What's going on? Why is the temperature rising? Her body feels extremely uncomfortable, as if she can't endure it any longer. Finally, Tanha breaks through the ice layer and everyone around bursts into laughter, amazed by her strength. Liu Mongli secretly smiles gently when she sees Tanha succeed. A moment later, the two are walking down the hallway. She turns to Tanha and asks, "So what do you think of Lam Fong's abilities? Do you understand him well?" Hearing her question, Tanha is somewhat surprised. "I don't know much about Lam Fong's abilities, but he always finds a way out when he's in a desperate situation." A hint of sadness appears on Liu Mongli's face as she tiredly says, It seems I protected you all too well in the past. If you don't face danger, you won't truly grow. Suddenly, Lam Phong and Trin Van Uy appear before them. Lam Phong is surprised to see To Na and thinks, why is she here? She is equally surprised, thinking, why is he here? To Na calls out Lam Phong. The two see her perfect figure and beautiful, charming face, which makes Lam Phong blush without realizing it. He thinks to himself, this girl To Na always dresses so modestly, I didn't expect her figure to be so beautiful. To Na notices Lam Phong gaze on her body and shouts, Lam Phong, where are your eyes looking? Seeing her shout like that, he grabs her wrist and says, Tu Na, is that slap from this morning not enough? Trin Van Uy beside him looks at him with a cunning and judgmental eye, thinking, this kid is indeed a pervert. Liu Mong Li then says to both of them, can you two stop acting like children? Haven't you lived together long enough? To Na, hearing her words, quickly denies, Auntie, no, that's a misunderstanding. She then tells Trin Van Uy, I don't care what happens inside. Van Uy, take To Na home. I still have some things to discuss with Lam Phong. Van Uy replies, yes. Liu Mong Li turns around and leaves. Lam Phong, follow me, she says. He responds, yes. To Na finds Liu Mong Li's actions a bit strange and thinks, why is she calling Lam Phong over at this time? Could it be? Watching their figures leave, she thinks, isn't the matter with Maji still unresolved? Liu Mong Li walks gracefully and lightly into the room, then orders Lam Phong to close the door and turn off the lights. Lam Phong complies and turns off the lights. The light from the window keeps the room from being too dark. He casually says to Liu Mong Li, Principal, why are you turning off the lights in a room with a man and a woman? Lam Phong follows suit and turns off the lights. The light from the window keeps the room from being dark. It's brighter, An casually said to Liu Mong Li, the principal, but why is the light off in here? It's not good to broadcast outside, she replied. Where do you think you're going, kid? This place is usually deserted, so there shouldn't be any eavesdropping devices around. Liu Mong Li was sitting next to a table when Lam Phong approached her and said, Principal, you called for me. What exactly do you want to talk about? Speak up, my time is precious, she said sternly, looking directly into his eyes. At this point, you still seem indifferent. Don't you realize that you might be the target? Lam Phong replied, confused. Targeted, or rather someone feels that I've been getting stronger lately and wants to come and stir up trouble for me. Liu Mong Li's voice grew louder. Lam Phong, this is all connected to the incident with your parents. This isn't something you can handle, she said, and he shouted in anger. It's only natural for me to clear my parents' name. Do you have the right to say that? What are you preaching about here? My mother helped you so much in the past, yet you always stand on the sidelines. Liu Mong Li yelled loudly, clearly losing her composure. No one in this world wants to clear the injustice for Sister Vaughn more than I do. Liu Mong Li's gaze began to blur. Before he could finish his sentence, she collapsed. Lam Phong rushed over, worried, calling out to her, Sister Liu. He looked at her and thought, did my words just provoke her too much? Looking at the beautiful girl lying in his hands, he couldn't help but think, this isn't good, she can't breathe. Looks like I need to perform CPR. He leaned in closer to her lips. Damn it, this is so shameless. Suddenly, she woke up abruptly. Seeing his lips so close to hers, she jumped up and pushed him away. You pervert! Are you really trying to take advantage of me? He replied anxiously, Sister Liu, let's take it slow. The scream echoed in their room. Liu Mong Li looked at him with an embarrassed expression and said, Lam Phong, the forces behind your parents' case are much bigger than you think. The Chu family is just the vanguard. She continued, I've almost faced danger several times. Do you really think you can confront them now? Lam Phong, the wound on your face is from my punch. Even if the Chu family is just the vanguard, I won't let them off easily. They always have something to reveal. Liu Mong Li placed her hand on his shoulder and said gently, Lam Phong, I can understand how you feel. She began to comfort him. You're still young and you can't act recklessly. You shouldn't expose yourself to the eyes of the schemers. Time is running out. I've prepared some resources for you to help you become stronger quickly. He replied, Forget it, the school's resources are too limited. You should keep them for yourself. Lam Phong turned around and left. I have my own way to become stronger. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. I said it before. He walked out and slammed the door. Liu Mong Li looked down at the ground, feeling sad, and thought to herself, although he no longer guards himself against me like before, this child's personality still hasn't changed. Suddenly, the phone rang. Liu Mong Li answered. Hello, it's me. The voice on the other end replied, Yeah, go ahead, I'm listening. After hearing that, the voice on the other end responded, "Okay, let me go arrange it at the stadium." Jian Tian hurriedly ran over. "Boss Jian Tian is here," he said excitedly, holding a large box. "I've brought what you asked for." Lam Fong immediately inquired about the contents. "Not in a hurry. Do you know why we're gathering?" Jian Tian replied, "I heard that the White Tiger Legion has arrived. It's said to be related to the arrangements after we graduate." Lam Fong pondered. Arrangements for the White Tiger Legion. Doesn't seem very promising, huh? Suddenly, flames began to shoot down to the ground, creating a commotion. "They're here!" The students all gasped in disgust. "Is that the leader of the White Tiger Legion? Feels like there's not much of a future, huh?" Suddenly, flames shot down to the ground and the surrounding noise erupted as they arrived. The students were all in awe, discussing it. "Is that the leader of the White Tiger Brigade? It looks like everyone around our age is rushing to praise this beautiful Captain Maji, who seems so sharp." Both sides are facing off, and Lam Feng has a surprised expression. "Why is she here?" Maji is surprised, yet he is here. Maji angrily shouts, "Finally, I've caught you, kid!" Without hesitation, Maji immediately charges forward. Lam Feng rushes out to block her, saying loudly, "To NHA, step back." Lam Feng thinks to himself, feeling annoyed. This damn woman is really holding a grudge and coming straight at me. Maji approaches, preparing to strike. He quickly dodges her, but she swiftly changes direction, leaping behind Lam Feng, then continues to roll an attack. But she was met with his defense. She laughs. "Not bad, but it won't be that easy next time." A fierce attack from Maji follows immediately. It exploded, sending Lam Feng flying. Lam Feng, looking battered, escapes the explosion and lands on the ground, raising his guard. Her abilities seem a bit strange. The students all cheer in unison. "Great job, finally we get to see Lam Feng in a tough spot. Come on, defeat him." To NHA looks confused as Lam Feng raises his hand. Using his strength, he creates a powerful move, summoning a large box in his hand. The box immediately opens and 2 swords fly out. Shen Tian gasps in shock. "Oh, what kind of ability is this? It's really cool." Lam Feng tightly grips the 2 swords in his hands, grinning confidently. "If we've started, then let's go into round 2.